Good evening and welcome to the Grand Rapids Public School Board meeting for Monday, October 14, 2024. We welcome and appreciate your presence at this meeting of the Grand Rapids Public School Board of Education. We respectfully ask that you turn off cellular phones and refrain from clapping, cheering, or making audible comments. We invite you to make a formal public comment during the designated times, either regarding the agenda or a non-agenda item or both. If it is for both, please complete 2 cards. And again, please submit your cards at the entryway, and our board secretary will get those, and we will give you approximately 3 minutes for each of those opportunities to speak. And our first order of business is a roll call.
Ms. Melvin?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Ms. Shaki?
Here.
Ms. Wade?
Present.
Ms. Davis is excused. Mr. Eatman?
Present.
President Williams?
Present.
We have a quorum.
And we need approval of our agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Wonderful. We'll move right along. Dr. Roby, celebrations.
Great. Good evening. That's a start to the day. So happy Monday, everybody. I am excited to just share and tee up what Mr. Steyer is going to present related to our partnership with the College of Education at Michigan State University. We're thrilled to announce an exciting partnership between GRPS as well as with Michigan State University, and it's called the Grand Rapids Teacher Initiative. This initiative is focusing on 15 seniors from 6 different high schools to help develop and grow our own pipeline for the Grow Your Own program. These scholars are currently taking dual enrollment classes that will set them on the path towards a teaching degree from Michigan State University at no cost. And so we want to make sure that people understand that this is at no cost, and this is all thanks to the generosity of an anonymous donor. This initiative is more than just an educational opportunity. It's about opening a door to 15 young people and what the trajectory will be for their future and what it'll mean to our community overall. So tonight we're excited to share a 2 or 3 minute video around the program, and then Mr. Steyer might have a couple of words after.
To go to certain spaces. I have been dreaming of the start of this program over the last few years. Drawing scholars from across different GRPS schools, from across the city that are interested in pursuing a career in education, it means a lot.
My mother was a teacher, and she was a teacher in GRPS. I'm really happy with who I am, and I love the way I was raised, and I want to help kids in the same way that she helped me.
I sort of just considered the opportunities that I missed out on as a kid and wanted to maybe equal out some injustice that I see.
I was talking to my GRTC instructor, and he said being a teacher would be a really good option for me because I'm a very good leader. I love helping other people.
Growing up, I only had one Black teacher. It's nice to possibly be a Black educator and knowing that there will be students that will be able to have someone that looks like them.
I think there's nothing better than having young folks who understand what it means to be a community educator, choose to become teachers. What would it be like if our very high schools were creating the teachers that we desire for this world?
You know the community you're in, so it'll be more familiar for me if I come back to GRPS and teach kids that grow up around the same neighborhoods I grew up in.
I think it's really important because you need to nurture everyone up, and then if they like the district, they're going to stay, and then they're going to bring their kids back.
Because you're in the same place that you grew up in, you are teaching kids that have the same circumstances.
Just the culture in GRPS is a lot of fun. I've been in GRPS my whole life, so I would love to come back and teach here, yeah. You can change these kids' lives forever.
In my work, we talk a lot about critical scholarship, and for me, funding fully an education program for youth that are interested in education, that's the right way to start these sort of conversations.
Oh, I was like, yes. I've always wanted to go to this school, but it's a lot of money. It's expensive. So it's a big chip off my shoulder.
that's amazing because it's so expensive and like it's a Big Ten school and they have a really good education program.
I was kind of happy about it because going to college, becoming a teacher, like I could help other people.
It's the best thing that would ever happen. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, for giving me the chance to teach others.
Thank you so much. You're really helping a lot of people who want to go into education after high school, and the program is just amazing.
Thank you. Honestly, I appreciate it because I've been wanting to go to Michigan State since I was in 2nd grade.
I never thought there were programs like this around this district, so it's nice that we have it here.
I love it. I'm here for it, and I look forward to see what becomes of it, whether it's direct classroom teachers or education-adjacent professions. I just think it's really, really important work, and I'm so pleased that some of these young folks have decided to join in it.
Good evening, President Williams and Superintendent Roby and Board of Trustees. I will just add, we had a Media Day event last week where we played that video. We had 8 media outlets there to help share that story around West Michigan, and also aired in the Lansing area as well from the TV stations there. And I just think that video, of all the videos I've been involved with our photographer, Evan Leonard, when we got the chance that afternoon to interview all of those scholars, and that question that you heard answered at the end there of, how would you say thank you to the donor and the people who helped make this program possible? Just seeing every scholar's face light up and the opportunity that this program creates for them was truly incredible.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Our next presentation is, I'm sorry. Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't want this to go by, but this is such a beautiful and a beautiful gift for our scholars to even have this opportunity. I don't want to understate the significance of this private donor to relieve some financial burdens from potential students, but also just the aspect that they chose GRPS to do that. So this is an amazing gift, but also how we are transforming those selected lives for trajectory for whatever career path they choose, but definitely education for that. And so this is super exciting, and I'm super excited to see this. So thank you.
And may I add, I guess I should do this. And may I add that they are not just going to any old college. They are going to Michigan State University College of Education, which is the #1 college of education in the United States. So they will do well, I'm sure.
Go Green.
Go Green.
Thank you. Our next presentation and celebration is related to our Smart Art top prize and all the work that has taken place over the last month or so. And so I'll have Executive Director Jamie Masco as well as Director Dan Van Til come forward to share our Smart Art prize winners and celebrations.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having us here. I'm actually here just to introduce Dan Van Til, our Director of Fine Arts and Shared Time, and he's got some exciting news to share.
All right, thank you. Hello, President Williams, Dr. Roby, Board. It's great to see you, and it's a thrill to introduce an amazing light in our district. So we're really excited about, and so we'll get to that here in a second. Just a little bit about Smart Art. The contest began in 2013. This is year 11 of the contest. It's a partnership with the Grand Rapids Public Schools Consumers Energy and Art Prize. Scholar artwork explores themes of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and environmental conservation. The contest is open to students in grades 9th through 11th grade. It represents work in multiple mediums. This year, 42 pieces were submitted to the contest from GRPS scholars from all of our high schools. There were 2 rounds of adjudication, one internal and one external, where we actually partnered with adjudicators or judges from Grand Rapids Community, art professors from Grand Rapids Community College, Art Prize, Mallory Shotwell, who is the CEO of Cultivate, and then Grand Valley State University had representation in the adjudication panel as well. And our incredible winner this year is Nusra Juma, and she's our first place winner this year. We're excited. Nusra is Ottawa Hills High School junior. There we go. The Ottawa Hills High School, excuse me. Visual arts teaching team includes Mr. Smith, who's joined us at the dais, and Jennifer Sharp is the Ottawa Hills High School. If you want to see innovation in art education, board members, stop by Ottawa Hills and watch this team work and watch those scholars work. It's inspiring. I think it's some of the best education in art education happening in the state of Michigan right now. It's exciting. The artwork Nusra created is Earth Balance, as image here. It's a multimedia piece that involved a lot of work, a lot of engineering, and beautiful application of lots of different colored materials and found materials as well. There is a large banner still hanging on the substation, the Consumers Energy substation on Fulton Street, just west of the Vanandel Arena, and you cannot miss this banner. It is like the size of the building. Nusra's work is certainly featured on this, but also has a nice box around it. It's a first place winner, so please check that out. But I'd like to take time to celebrate Nusra and celebrate their team. It's all right. I'd love to give Nusra a moment just to talk about her work, and then Mr. Smith has a few comments. Nusra?
I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. Art have always been my dream, and I've always, for 11 years, I never had materials or never knew any of that existed till I got in America and went to school, and then all the doors opened and I took advantage of that, and I'm looking forward for more doors to open, and I'll make sure to do the same with them as well. And this art piece was very inspiring to me and to the school. It came as a surprise, but I made it work. Yeah. There's a closet in the school with everything you can think of, so I was a little too excited and just picked up everything I could, and yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
And I just wanted to say it's been a pleasure having you as a student. It's a joy seeing you create. She creates in every aspect. Sorry, I promise I turned it off. It's a joy to see you create, and I just wanted you to know GRPS will continue to support you through your journey.
Thank you. Board, can we take a picture with Nusra?
Before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration of your vision here, please?
The inspiration came from moving a lot and living in different environments for a long enough time to see how the weather and the environment work together, and how the community also helped change the atmosphere. I grew up in Africa, very dry, no snow, and barely rain sometimes. And then I lived in Nevada for 4 years. Really cold, it's a desert, and sometimes really hot. Then I come to Michigan. Oh well. Yeah, it's hot for 3 minutes and then it rains for the next 5. And you'll never know when the snow is coming. So that was the idea around Earth Balance. And I'm very proud that I was able to demonstrate it through my work.
And I also want to speak to the persistence that you had. So when we knew that this was about to be in a contest, there was a lot of thinking that had to go in place in terms of getting she created the pieces separately. So originally the tree was on the outside, but with ingenuity and persistence, she created a way for the tree to go on the inside and for it to still continue to stand up straight. And it was just, it took about a week, but she was persistent, and that was dope.
Congratulations.
Before we take the picture too, I want to also give Mr. Stephen Smith and Ms. Sharp, a shout out, but specifically Mr. Stephen Smith. Those of you who may not be aware, he is also a winner. He was the awardee of $50,000.
Oh, yeah.
$50,000 art prize. And so right here in our district, we have our very own teacher who is not only sharing his gifts with the scholars of Ottawa Hills, but also is sharing his gifts with the community of Grand Rapids. And so let's give him a round of applause as well.
Be good too, because I know a little bit about it, but can you talk and just tell us about your project that you won, because you got the Judge's Choice Award for that $50,000, but your project that you did was powerful, and I think that would be good for people to hear that.
Yeah, so I was all right. It was a collaborative project with about 20 artists. The overall idea came from a person named Scoob Terrell Foy. And we have an art gallery. He came with an idea to have a interactive show that had art and music together. So we got a bunch of artists together and we just created this piece called the Trauma Project. And we collaborated, we linked, and we presented the project to the community multiple times, even before Art Prize, and the community was very receptive. A lot of lives were impacted by the project, and I think that they'll continue to be impacted as the album continues to live on, and it's called the Trauma Project, GR.
I think it's important to note that the type of give back that you give, you have 2 art galleries intentionally in Grand Rapids that you've also lended the space for our scholars to have their art showcase in an actual real art gallery. So if the universe or whoever anybody decides to serve is returning that form of investment for what you've given to our scholars, and well deserved for that $50,000 award. And thank you for your continuous investment in our scholars.
Thank you.
Yep, I'll take it. I was just. We're gonna. Yeah, I think if we can do a second row, have some, there you go. Perfect. Sounds good. All right, you go, we'll look here first. All right, you ready? Yes. Perfect. All right, looking here, everybody ready? 3, 2, 1.
Our next celebration is the Jean Hamilton Cope Teachers of the Year Award. And Executive Director, Mr. Matthew Beresford will introduce the Hamilton Cope family as well as our distinguished honorees.
Yes. Good evening, Dr. Roby, President Williams, and board members. This is such a fun annual tradition that we have here, thanks to this family, the family members, and generous donation of this support in name of Jean Hamilton Cope. So with me, I've got the donors Lori and Mark Grand, and they donated funds to GRPS Foundation to establish this Teacher of the Year Awards for the Grand Rapids Public Schools. And Lori is the daughter of former GRPS teacher Jean Hamilton Cope, and advocated that these funds be used to recognize amazing teachers annually in memory of her mother. Here's some images of Ms. Hamilton Cope in Huff Elementary. And they have a few words to share before we announce the winners.
Okay. Hello, board members, and all of you in the audience. I just put a breath mint in my mouth, so my timing is not too good. But thank you very much for allowing Mark and me to support this amazing project. I provided these pictures, but I just can't take my eyes off. My mom is standing there. It's probably like 1964. She usually had her walls covered with stuff, so that must have been like early in the school year. And the shirt-waist dress is, totally of the time. I have her bell, which sat in her class. The bell is like this tall. I have it on a shelf at home, and it just makes me happy to look at it. It's engraved with her name and Huff School and stuff. And then she made that K to put outside of her classroom, and I remember we had one car in our family with 4 kids, and she was a single mother. And so sometimes I would come pick her up. I went to GRCC. We lived out in Cascade, so it was a schlep for her to get into Huff. So anyway, just looking at that K makes me happy also. So this sort of says it all about why Mark and I decided to do this. And I also want to point out my brother Dave, who is a retired GRCC teacher. We all went to GRCC. There were 4 of us in the family, and we went to that amazing school, and then we went on to University of. Had a shout out here. A little equal time. Well, when I was in school, sorry I shouted. When I was in college, I was going to be a teacher because, my mom was, and my grandfather, her dad, had been a superintendent of schools, and it was sort of running in the blood, and I just assumed that's what girls did back then, of course. Not that that's a bad thing, but, that was kind of the path, that or nurse or secretary, basically. But I quickly realized that that was not the path for me. You've got to have it in your blood, I think, the way my mother did. But the point I want to make is that Michigan State was the amazingly #1 choice, and I knew Michigan wasn't. I mean, Michigan's a great school, but for education, no competition. So I'm just happy to be here. The fact is that this is, I think, the 3rd time we've done this now. And hopefully it will just go on in forever. But the 3 women who've been selected so far, who I had a chance to meet 2 out of the 3 so far this evening, I read their bios and I looked them up and Googled them and saw what there was to be seen online, and they just seemed amazingly accomplished. And I know I could never do that kind of work. I know my mother did do that kind of work. We've all had a few teachers in our lives who have just had it in their soul and their DNA, and that's what we're looking for here. So I'm glad to be able to support this way of rewarding and lifting up the people who are doing the best work.
Thank you, Lori. Without further ado, here's the awardees, and then I'll read a little bio, a little background of what professionals they are in their schools. And while I read it, if they can each just stand up, and then at the end we'll pass the plaques out and do another photo. All right, there we go. And so for the elementary division, it's awarded to Miss Ina St. Germain. Let me tell you a little bit about Miss St. Germain. She is a true lover of learning. After decades of teaching in GRPS and at Burton Elementary, her desire to continue to learn and grow as a person and educator are truly inspiring for the leadership and the staff there. She's constantly pushing herself to learn new technology so her scholars can access those 21st century learning skills. Miss St. Germain has previously worked to earn Burton Elementary the Apple Distinguished School Award and uses technology to extend and remediate learning daily. Miss St. Germain is she's innovative in her approaches. She recently was participating in the Salmon in the Classroom project through MDE, and the fourth graders raised salmon and released them in the wild, and she created real-world connections through that project. Miss St. Germain constantly seeks out ways to engage her scholars and her colleagues. She's a member of the SEL, that's the Social Emotional Learning, and the PBIS, Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports teams at the school. Miss St. Germain works tirelessly to ensure all scholars feel a deep sense of belonging in her classroom and in the school. As a mentor and a buddy teacher, Miss St. Germain positively supports her colleagues' mental health and wellness while also partnering with school administrators, modeling true shared leadership. But wait, there's two more. The middle school division is awarded to Miss Jen Hall. She's a middle... She is a middle school teacher at North Park Montessori with expertise in teaching English language arts and social studies there. She has been part of the North Park school community for over the last 2 decades and a tireless advocate for the Montessori growth in GRPS. She partners with school administration outside of the classroom as a volunteer coordinator, working countless hours each school year to ensure the weekly volunteer opportunities around the school are all organized for the community and for the 7th and 8th graders. Many know her also as the trip planner, taking dozens of middle schoolers to the East Coast every school year. She also reinforces learning through performance as the Silk Road and the Battle of Gettysburg reenactment expert, leading those simulations each year. She is a teacher leader helping to mentor new teachers and student teachers for the next generation of education. She also leads the Social Squad, a teacher-led group that makes sure that colleagues are celebrated when needed and supported through the tough times like a death in the family or medical needs. She gladly pitches in whenever an extra hand is needed, whether that is lunch duty, PTA meetings, or middle school dances. Inside the classroom, the middle scholars regularly lead classroom Socratic discussions using norms and expectations they created alongside Ms. Hall. All voices are empowered and respected within her classroom culture, and it makes it clear that she shows up every single day at that school for her scholars, their families, and the Montessori school community. And last but certainly not least is Miss Whitley Morris. Miss Whitley Morris is an invested social studies teacher at the Ottawa Hills High School who engages positively in educating all the grades of levels of different scholars that attend that school. She builds young minds' understanding of the content by first investing in those positive relationships. Each and every scholar that comes into her class is met with care, enthusiasm, and empathy. Ms. Morris builds her relationships with each scholar by getting to know them and getting them to buy in to the way a classroom focused on learning must operate. Scholars often go to her to confide their struggles and to celebrate their successes. Pushing scholars to do their best and holding them accountable is something she excels at. When you walk into her class, you will find her engaging scholars to relevant content as well as pushing them to verbalize their learning to help others in the class make meaning. Ms. Morris also leads her peers with grace and advocates for their needs. She will always be the first to corral the teachers to have a potluck, a staff gathering, or a come together to support a staff member that may be in need. With the administration, she boldly speaks up with the heart to solve problems for the benefit of the scholars. Ms. Morris contributes to the school environment above and beyond the call of duty in many ways. She leads the 3 R's program, which brings local judges and lawyers to educate our scholars into the classroom. She's the freshman class advisor and willingly takes the lead for the freshman scholars and staff members. In addition, she also partners with administration with coordinating and proctoring a multitude of those accountability tests. She models a deep love for Ottawa scholars and a dedication to impactful teaching along with her fellow staff daily when she arrives within that school community. So as they make their way down for their photo and receiving their plaques, I just want to make everyone aware that they do get a $1,000 check that they don't have to spend in the classroom. They can enjoy on themselves, right? Along with this specialized plaque, a plaque also in the lobby their names will be added to it, and then they will be nominated for the Michigan Teacher of the Year program in the next application process.
Wonderful. Nice.
Yep, we're doing this work. Yep. Here we go again.
Video music.
You guys right in front, in the middle? Still sliding. Here we go!
Those sharp bright pens today.
All right, it is that time. Time for turkey. Trotting, that is. Turkey. So I'm going to invite Mr. Johnson to come forward, as well as our athletic directors and our team from GRPS Foundation to talk about the turkey trot.
Good evening, President Williams, Dr. Roby, other distinguished board members, and scholar reps as well. With me tonight is Brody Larsons, the middle school athletic coordinator, who's acting as the liaison for our turkey trot this year. And I think Mrs. Stephanie Andrews-Need, no introduction, from the Grand Rapids Student Foundation, who will talk about the upcoming turkey trot, which will be held on November 28th, Thanksgiving Day. And as our Our slogan has always been, move your feet before you eat. And we are looking for an exciting turkey trot this year, a slight course correction this year because of construction. But it's always been a great event to show up on Thanksgiving morning to do a slight jog before you eat. So having said that, I'll turn it over to Stephanie.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I just wanted to share a fun fact that I learned this week, that the very first turkey trot started in 1896 in Buffalo, New York. It was 6 brave souls that stood on that line and raced 8 kilometers, and only 4 finished. So we're gonna have a few more finished this year for sure. As you guys know, the turkey trot happens every year here, and it has definitely stood the test of time right here in Grand Rapids, even a pandemic or two. The first Grand Rapids Turkey Trot was started in 1992, and it was actually called the Thanksgiving Day Run, so it didn't change names until later on. It was started, and actually the latest movement was at Calvin College before it moved to the Van Andel Arena, and we are lucky enough to be at the Van Andel Arena again this year, which is amazing because if you've ever run a 5K in the middle of November, it's a little chilly. So we get to warm up in the Van Andel Arena, so hopefully that'll inspire you to come down with your families and do that. We've already been marketing it. Dr. Roby, Tom the Turkey, and everyone came out for a news conference, including Rosalind Bliss, just last month to kick off Turkey Trot. And we had a great, we've got a really good marketing blitz. We're really excited about that. I just wanted to share some numbers just so you kind of see where we're at. Lake Michigan Credit Union returns for the 3rd year as our sponsor for the mini trot, which is free for kiddos to run one lap right around the arena and make sure they don't get lost. And then kids from GRPS all get to run free. So there is lots of opportunities for kids to participate, and it sure is fun to watch the startup lineup because they always get in the very front of the row, and I love that. For the 11th year in a row, Blue Cross Blue Shield is returning as a $30,000 presenting sponsor. So that is their commitment to our GRPS family. So excited for that. Turkey Tom is around and will be at the Harrison Park 100th event anniversary this Thursday. And he's also been spotted around town at a couple other events, and you'll see him more and more. So far, I wanted to give you some updated numbers. Our goal for this year is to hit over 6,000 runners. Last year, we were at 5,700. And last year, we raised $100,000 in sponsorship, and we're already at $90,000 to date. This race brings over $200,000 in for sports programming for the district. So I'm very excited that we're going to hit those goals before Thanksgiving gets here. Just as we were talking about race logistics, we had probably the best course on hand last year, and then we did a little construction on division. So we're going to be rerouting a little bit to be able to make that happen. But it's going to be a great race. So please come out. There is a special code just for your board members, and so we'll send that out tomorrow. And get registered today.
That course does not take us up that hill on Ionia in place of that, does it?
No.
Okay, wonderful. Because I appreciated that downward slope there.
Yes.
It was helpful.
We make
Wonderful.
this accessible for everyone, so.
Okay.
The amount of money that's raised that directly impacts our scholars in sports is commendable each year. So just thank you and your team and your board that really partners with our district to make sure that they have access. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, and it's really the community of Grand Rapids that shows up. This is the largest 5K in the state of Michigan behind the Detroit Thanksgiving Day Parade, or event on Thanksgiving. So
nice.
And I just want to acknowledge Brody and his team, who their day starts a couple days before, and the day of the run, they're there at 3 a.m. in the morning, setting up and working with the community, working with the city to set up barricades. So just want to say thanks to him and his team, and working with Stephanie to keeping this program going. 32 wonderful years, and looking forward to all of you running this year.
I'll pass out water.
Or walking.
We'd love for you to show up. We'd love to.
We're sending money.
Yeah, please,
Take
anything,
checks.
everything.
Yep.
Thanks, Brody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our final celebration this evening is the Lights On After School, and I would like to invite up Mr. Mel Atkins as well as Dr. Kyle Kroll to talk about Lights On After School.
Thank you, Dr. Roby. Good evening, President Williams and other members of the board. Thank you, Julie. Grand Rapids Public Schools Loop programs will be participating in the 25th annual Lights On After School event. And this is a nationwide celebration of after-school programs. We'll be one of more than 8,000 sites across the nation sending the message that after school is key to your children's success, and that we must keep the lights on and doors open after school. Parents, school officials, city officials, and community agencies, caregivers, anyone in the audience is invited to help us rally for this safe, stimulating after-school program. GRPS Loop programs are to be part of such a great celebration. The celebration, it will happen on Thursday, October 24th. We will convene at just behind this building at Campus Elementary from 4 to 5:30 to celebrate this great event to show that after-school programs do make a difference. Any questions?
Questions, comments?
I don't have any questions, but thank you for all you guys do for after-school programming, and I hope to see more and more after-school programs staying open and opening in our district and even outside of our district. And it's an important work, and so I'll be there. I hope to be there and continue to support after-school programming.
Thank you.
Alrighty, before we go to our next agenda item, I do just want to take a moment to acknowledge that today is Indigenous Peoples Day, and so we don't want to be we don't want to forget to acknowledge that today. So as we are moving about, we do want to acknowledge that. So I'll go to our next thing with our report from our scholar representatives, and I'll start with Ms. Bettinghouse. Is there anything that you would like to share with us tonight? All righty. And then Ms. Patel, is there anything that you would like to share?
Yeah, just a couple things. So this week is homecoming week at Union. So we have Spirit Week, Powder Puff Game on Wednesday, and then homecoming is Saturday. And then also National Honor Society is hosting a Mercedes Blood Drive on Friday, November 8 at Union High School. So if you are looking to donate or want an appointment, I would suggest talking to Ms. Neiman. To get an appointment and donate because it's open to everybody.
Wonderful. And then we are at our first opportunity for public comment on board agenda items only. Justin? You have our instructions.
Yes. All right. If there are individuals present who wish to address the board, please fill out the public comment card located at either entrance of the board chambers. Please also read the rules on the back of the comment card concerning policy and procedure. We have two public comment sections on the agenda. The first one is public comment on board agenda items. Agendas are located by the comment cards. The second public comment opportunity is for commenting on non-agenda items related to the business of the district but are not topics of the current agenda. If you wish to comment during both public comment opportunities, you will need to fill out separate cards. Individuals must completely fill out the front of the card and indicate the specific business on which they wish to comment. Please submit the completed card in the bin on the table at either entryway of the board chambers. Our board assistant will collect the cards. We ask that speakers refrain from making abusive statements against board members, employees, volunteers, or contractors. Speakers are encouraged to present complaints about a specific board member, employee, volunteer, or contractor through the appropriate process established under Board Policy 9450 before requesting the board's consideration. The board's policies can be found on grps.org. Individuals will be invited one at a time to the podium to address the board. Before beginning your comment, please state your full name. At that time, we will start the timer. Mr. Rodriguez is in charge of timing here. At that time, we will start the timer, allowing each individual 3 minutes to make their comment. A 1-minute notice will be provided by, no red card, right?
We now have our timing clock active again, so
please refer to that during your public comments so you know how much time you have. Thank you.
No more red cards. A 1-minute notice will be provided. You will need to complete your comment time upon being notified that 3 minutes have passed. Board members do not respond to public comment. Concerns will be brought to the attention of appropriate staff. We value your input and thank you for sharing with us.
All right. First, we have up Ms. Jane Neiman, and on deck, we have Seth Moore.
Good evening, Dr. Roby, President Williams, board members. You know me, my name is Jane Neiman. I'm a teacher at Union High School and the vice president of the Grand Rapids Educational Association. I want to start off by talking about our celebrations. I just want to give a shout out to the wonderful teachers and educators we have working with us in our G area bargaining unit. I think I've worked with Ina St. Germain for quite a while, and I know what a wonderful person she is and how much she cares about students. I don't have the pleasure of personally knowing the other two teachers who received awards tonight, but I do know that in my experience in this district, we have some wonderful staff, and it is amazing to see what they do with our scholars constantly and for them. And they give a lot of their time and emotions, and they struggle to always do what's best for their students, and I just really want to give them a shout out. I also was very happy to see 2 of our union students in that video that want to become teachers. One of them personally I had in class for 2 years, another one is in our National Honor Society. So it was great to see those young people willing to be teachers. My hat's off, because it is a tough job, as you know, and often very thankless. So it's great to see that our scholars are excited about taking that step and giving back. And I think we have a lot of scholars in this district that do want to give back, because they do get a lot from our district. So I love that. Also saw Miss Rima at the event that UCC held, screening board candidates for the elections. So shout out to you, Rima, for being a part of that. And also, she is right, we do have a blood drive coming up, so if anybody wants to donate, just send me an email. We'll be posting the link where you can sign up to donate. We'd love to have you over at Union to help us make sure that people have the blood that they need, our cancer patients, our accident victims, anybody who needs a donation of platelets. So you can save 3 lives with every donation. So please come join us if you would like to be a part of that. We would love to have you. Other agenda items I wanted to mention briefly. There were some supplies purchased on the purchasing agenda. I know that we have a lot of work to do in this district, but I just want to say that today was the first day after 8 weeks in the marking period that some PE teachers received their supplies. So I know we can do better, and I hope that we will continue to improve our ability to provide the resources that educators need to do their job, and for our scholars to be able to learn and grow and be successful. Thank you.
Mr. Moore, and then on deck we'll have Victor Williams.
Good evening, board members. My name is Seth Moore. I come to you tonight to address bullying as part of the resolution you've made, specifically bullying I've received as a result of my advocacy here in front of this board. A concerning issue has arisen involving the spouse of a board member who has targeted individuals, including myself, simply because they have come up before this podium and raised concerns to this district. This individual has encouraged others to find those of us who have come to speak up, creating a climate of intimidation. In my case, this person also publicly dismissed my experience of being directly threatened nearly a year ago by Larry Johnson, an incident I stand by and take seriously. What troubles me most is how the behavior of these adults, especially those connected to leadership, is mirrored by children. When adults resort to harassment or intimidation, it teaches students that this is an acceptable way to resolve disagreements. As a district committed to equality, empathy, and inclusion, we all have a responsibility to do better. That responsibility must start with this board. The way that you handle difficult conversations and respond to criticism sets the tone for the entire district. Leadership isn't just about the policies you enact. It's about modeling the respect and accountability that we want to see in our students. However, this responsibility doesn't stop with you. I ask everyone in this room, public officials, staff, community members alike, to join in holding ourselves to a higher standard. We must show that disagreements can be addressed through respectful dialogue, not hostility. The example we set here matters, not just for adults, but for students who look to us for guidance every day. I urge the board to take a firm stance against campaigns of harassment, even when they involve family members of board members. No parent, staff member, or community advocate should be intimidated for speaking up. We raise concerns not out of malice, but because we care about the district and are committed to building a stronger, reimagined GRPS. Thank you.
Victor Williams, and then next we'll have the Honorable Commissioner Robert Womack.
Greetings, greetings. I'm here as a GRPS alumni, as a community advocate, someone who's been watching the work of this district my entire life. I wanted to come and say thank you, particularly Dr. Roby, President Williams. Under your leadership, the numbers that the district is doing, highest enrollment rates, highest graduation rates in 20 years, it's something to be celebrated. The new program you just announced at Central this week, in conjunction with MSU, is something, the teacher program is something to be celebrated. So I want to thank you in the midst of all the negativity that I know you guys get from time to time. Just wanted to come through and wrap my arms around you and let you know your work is appreciated. We see you, the district is turning around, and I'm proud to witness it. Thank you for your great work.
Next we have Robert Womack.
Hello, and if the Grant family has left already, just want to thank them for their participation and donations for the Michigan Teacher of the Year. Also congratulate Mrs. St. Germain, Mrs. Jen Hall, Mrs. Whitley Morse, our nominees from GRPS. Just seeing those positive things when I came here, it set the day off good. Some of the things that you're going to be looking at with the data that you have been passing, that looking closer to this data and keeping this historical record, is really going to let people know that we do have some historical numbers of graduation. I remember being on the radio and mentioning the school many years ago. Most of you weren't here. I don't think any of you were here. But we had a school where it's like 22 graduates. And somehow the people that were in office and here were able to gloss that over, and the public wasn't too alarmed. But our community, it was a big cry, not putting blame on anybody, you know, because it's part of ours too. It take a village to raise a child. You can never put the blame on just the school, but it never really got the focus it needed. So as I see here tonight, and I hear some of this thing about people saying people bullying adults, I've seen this board bullied. I've seen some very important issues come here, especially teachers' pay. I've seen some important issues that got swept under because of some of the attacks that come at the board and the bullying. And I'm just here to say I think Dr. Roby is doing a great job, President Ms. Williams, Mr. Rodriguez, all of you on the board are doing a good job, but I will remind the board, yes, I ran for Kent County Commission again. I won my primary. I'm probably headed back to everybody in this room. We got to keep politics out of GRPS because this is about these children. This is about these children, and some of the things that's going online is not got to do much with the board because some of the stuff that goes on here has been spilling out to social media for months. Bits and pieces without people knowing the whole side, and I'm not here to take any side because I love everybody's freedom of speech. But all sides need to sit down and talk, and maybe not even here at the school board, on how we can get back to our children. The communication skills we need, the problem solving, the team building. These are some of the things that I've seen that Dr. Roby is good at. that many of these school board members are good at, and I would just ask y'all to concentrate on that, because that's what it's about, to deliver for our children, and we're gonna work outside to try to bring some peace to the different sides so it doesn't continue to spill out here and take away from the great work of our president, our superintendent, and all you board members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our secretary's report.
Yes, the City Board Liaison Committee meeting will meet Wednesday, October 16th at 4 o'clock in the Reverend Lyman S. Parks Library Building, Conference Room 112. The Finance Committee meeting will be meeting on Tuesday, October 22nd at 4:30 in the board chambers.
And committee chair updates. First, we have Ad Hoc Facilities Committee.
All right, good evening, everyone. The Ad Hoc Facilities Committee met back in September. Actually, that was our last meeting on September 10. And we discussed a few items. The first was beginning to build a framework for the guidelines of how we sell or lease our properties. And so we discussed at that committee meeting that we'd like that to be a future work session agenda item. And we also talked about developing an RFQ, or a request for qualifications, for individuals or developers in the community who are interested in our properties, so that we can identify which ones there are interested for short-term leases, so 2 years or less, long-term leases, more than 2 years, or even development of properties. So stay tuned. That is work that will take some time, but something that we're talking about at that committee level.
Excuse me, Ms. Shock, I'm concerned about this public member just standing behind your back there. I think there's a clear understanding people shouldn't be behind the dais though.
Conveniently skipped. It was turned in.
If your card is not addressed appropriately, please, it has to be completed appropriately. Thank you. So can you please, sir, not come behind the pillar, please?
No, it's right
Thank you.
here.
Ms. Shockey.
Okay. We also discussed our strategy for vacant properties. We talked about developing a policy for future boards. So when we take a building offline as an educational facility, that there would be a policy in place for the board to decide after 2 years what to do with that property, whether or not that building will be demolished, returned to an educational use, or extended a lease, existing lease, or other items. So we're working on that policy at the Ad Hoc Facilities Committee, and then we'll move that forward to the Policy Committee. We are waiting on a couple of presentations from the district as well. One is a presentation on ed specs. So what are they? Why do we want one? And what is in motion already in our district? And also the creation of a bond project dashboard. So we know who's receiving contracts, our MLBE participation on bond projects, and a calendar of events, including bidding of projects, community meetings, groundbreakings, all the things that go along with celebrating our buildings. That's my ad hoc facilities report.
All righty. And then we have our Finance Committee.
All right, you're back to me. All right, Finance Committee met on September 24. We're bringing forward a recommendation to approve the purchasing agenda and the addendum this evening. And then most of our meeting actually was just in discussion. There were 2 items that we discussed with our CFO. The first was regarding the school aid budget and a specific categorical regarding, I'm going to do my best, it's complicated. That's probably the best way to describe it. It's in regards to the 3% employee contribution toward their insurance and personal health care fund at retirement. So when it comes to the school aid budget this year, what you may have heard was there was no increase in per pupil funding, but there was a hard look at this end of the profession, right, and how the state can support teachers in retirement. And so there, of course, have been some unintended consequences, I think, to that decision. And the state is looking to reimburse employees for that 3% that they've been contributing toward their retirement, but that's going to be taxable, and so that's not going to come back as a full 3% reimbursement. So there's a lot going on at the state level around these bills and this particular categorical. Like I said, it's complicated, and we know it's going to take a lot of work to be able to communicate that well to the impacted staff in our district. We also talked about health insurance. If you have health insurance, you know that rates are going up, and that is what's happening unfortunately for Grand Rapids Public Schools too. So MESA rates are going to increase by 12.3 to 14.7%. That's a huge number. the West Michigan health insurance pool by 7%. Yet our hard cap rates aren't pacing at the same increase, which means the amount the district can contribute is not pacing with the increase in health insurance. So these are big issues as we look to being able to support our teachers and our staff well. That's my Finance Committee report.
Righty, thank you. And next we have our Grand Rapids Public School Foundation report.
I'd like to invite CEO and President, Ms. Stephanie Andrews, as well as Executive Director, Mrs. Bridget Cheney, forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, just some quick updates. Thank you for all of you that were able to come to our Foundation for the Future event. It really was an amazing opportunity to see all of the things that the kids brought to the stage. We had 81 students from Coit Academy, and they sang. And then we also had a 25-piece orchestra from Burton Heights, or from Burton Middle School, and it was absolutely beautiful. As well as Fabiola, who is not here tonight, but she did an amazing job speaking in front of over 350 guests, which is no small feat for any of us who public speak.
She was so poised. She was just ready to go, no nervousness that anyone could see, and tears to your eyes, truly.
Yeah, so,
very cool.
So thank you for all of you that came out and supported. We're continuing to raise funds for that as we head into our end of the year fundraising campaigns. So a couple other things just to share with you guys. We have over 50 applications for our teacher mini grants, and so we'll be awarding those in November. So very excited about being able to give away even more money to teachers and principals in the district. And we wanted to share a couple new partnerships. We've partnered with Village 99, and they have been able to generously donate a new washer to one of our schools, as well as a refrigerator to Ottawa Hills High School's hospitality program. Elger, sorry. The washer.
Refrigerator was Ottawa Hills.
Okay.
Alger got the washer.
Okay.
So, yeah, thanks.
Trying to figure out where all these
Right. I was like, oh, where they go?
and then we're in partnership, our conversations with Milk Means More, Planet Fitness, and the Grand Rapids School to again do another weight room, hopefully in the district. So those are just some great highlights and partnerships that we're working on. The other final thing that we are working forward, and it'll be probably a couple years to make it come to full fruition, but creating a resource directory for all alumni businesses or GRPS family businesses, so that we have a really great directory that can share with the community to have our family businesses supported throughout West Michigan and beyond. So that's it for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, and then we're to the superintendent's report.
Good evening. And so I am going to invite our teaching and learning team, Deputy Superintendent and Executive Directors, to share our interpretation of the academic ends of sub-end 1 related to achievement and graduation. As a reminder to our board colleagues, this was presented at the September work session, and we have taken quite a bit of the feedback related to that. And the board policy in and of itself was approved by the board earlier this summer, and we did not make changes to the policy, but because policy is where the board lives as far as governance of what they would like to see as far as vision. And what this is the interpretation of that policy, which are the operational pieces of that work. And so I'd like to introduce Dr. Lovelady Mitchell, Deputy Superintendent, as well as our Executive Directors, Dr. Gunnell, our newest Director, Mr. Nielsen, Mr. Beresford, and Mrs. Cheney.
Good evening, and I will make sure that you have more information on our newest addition, Mr. Executive Director Chad Nielsen, who currently serves as a Kent Hills principal and who has been in the district for a long time. It is great to be able to elevate one of our own. And so November 1, Mr. Nielsen will step in as the full-time executive director, and I am so glad about it. I also just want to make sure I lift up the great work of the team for nominating our own in terms of the teacher celebrations. Kudos to our teachers. Very exciting to hear. You all know that the work around ends has been happening for a while. So we're talking about the monitoring the global ends policy. And so there's some people that are not at the table. So I just want to say their last names, and then I'll turn it over to the team to share how they've continued to integrate some of the feedback that you have given them thus far. But Steve Petros, Peter Walbley, and as you have already heard, Executive Director Beersford, Dr. Gunno, Edie Cheney, Edie Nilsson, and ED Mel Atkins, who I think is actually here in the audience. But for tonight, what we'll do is drill down into sub-ends 1. Sub-ends 1 is about graduation and advancement. And you'll hear some forecasting a little bit about academic achievement and personal responsibility and belonging. One of the things I'll just lift up is that this is an iterative process, and so we're not done, but we continue to go deeper in terms of amplifying our priorities and stitching whole child and academic excellence in all that we say and do. Academic excellence in unpacking it is also not just about our technical or core classes, but we also have talked about things like work-based learning, career technical education, apprenticeships, et cetera. And so without further ado, Dr. Campbell, Tammy Campbell, has worked with the team, and so they're going to highlight some of the places where we are now. This is a current snapshot.
Thank you, Dr. Lovelady Mitchell. Like she said, this is our interpretation, and we're zooming into the graduation and advancement sub-end 1 tonight. Remind you, though, that academic achievement will be the next that we share our interpretation and metrics on, and then personal responsibility and belonging, and so we wanted to include them here. So the interpretation is that graduation and advancement is an essential end that measures the progression of every Grand Rapids Public Schools scholar in graduating with future-ready prerequisite skills and confidence to access college, career, and other post-secondary experiences. So those 3 key highlighted words, you'll see different metrics and activities connected to them throughout this presentation. This was the research that we shared during the work session a month ago. The one add to it is making clear alignment to that bottom link that was shared with you, the Michigan Top 10 Education Plan, which speaks out the guiding principles for the future of education in the state of Michigan, and then also the goals aligned with that plan. And then we made references to certain goals throughout this sub-ends 1, and then we will do that again with sub-end 2 and 3 as we share those interpretations. So when we're thinking about prerequisites and prerequisite skills, we wanted to share this outcome that the number of scholars who demonstrate readiness and prerequisite skills of future-ready graduates, and that we're measuring the whole child, and so there might be overlap with some of these metrics into sub-end 2 or 3, but again, they are prerequisite skills to help that scholar get across the graduation stage and into that future pathway. So those different metrics are, of course, attendance, less than 10%, and absenteeism across the whole K-12 grade bands. Kindergarten readiness as measured by the NWA MAP growth fall data when they enter into their kindergarten year, and that's aligned to the Michigan Top 10 Goal 1. Third grade reading proficiency, that has been a long used data point since the third grade reading law came out around 2017, and it's also aligned to Michigan Top 10 Goal number 2. 8th grade math proficiency, 9th grade credits earned outcome, but really we're monitoring the graduation credits earned all throughout the high school experience, but being focused that when they're leaving 9th grade, they're on track. And then 11th grade with college and career readiness and the SAT total score.
So before you go on, I just want to make sure that we make this point. With sub-ends 2 and 3, there are some that are closely more aligned how we got to attendance, kindergarten readiness, and third grade reading, that does tell the whole picture, but it really is not necessarily indicative when you talk about especially K-12 attendance of graduation, on-time graduation, but there is a loose correlation, and specific to our policy, that we want to make sure that as we are looking at each one, we are directly able to make that correlation to what is going to get to that particular goal, understanding that these others have looser correlations, and this was what the feedback was for our board. We want to make sure that we're not duplicating our work as we present sub-ins 2 and sub-ins 3, but we do feel that attendance, kindergarten readiness, and third grade reading do have more of a connection to sub-ins 2, and the other 3 with 8th grade proficiency, graduation, 9th grade graduation credits, and then beyond, as well as SAT and career readiness scores are better examples. And attendance in particular has a more direct correlation in the high school experience versus the overall, understanding that there are patterns that sometimes people will make, but just to make sure that we're able to drill down into what that looks like, if that makes sense. Okay.
Thank you, Dr.
Can you just explain the kindergarten readiness? I'm sorry.
Say again?
The kindergarten readiness. So we're checking for students' readiness prior to kindergarten as a component of their holistic growth within our system.
So when they enter kindergarten, we get a data point, right? And that data point is a full range depending on the kindergartner that may have experienced 2 years of early childhood programming, 1 year of early childhood programming, or no years of early childhood programming before kindergarten. So that's an important data point.
But it's a more of a direct correlation to, say, how students will do on the third grade reading assessment. And so we do feel, this was the feedback that you all shared at the last work session. And so my suggestion, as we talked earlier, is to move those out of INS 1 and they go more appropriately into INS 2, which is academic achievement, because there's a more direct correlation. I think attendance in particular, when you look at overall, that can be at a metric at each particular ends, but specifically to graduation, tying it to high school graduation from that 9th grade year and on is more indicative than it would be at kindergarten. Because again, if you think about a kindergartner's attendance as an example, that has more to do with parental responsibility than it might have to do with individual responsibility, because parents are more responsible at kindergarten for ensuring their children are attending school. It doesn't mean it doesn't have a role, but making sure when you look at with the language of the policy, a direct correlation to graduation. And I don't know how closely we'd be able to monitor that over a 12-year period.
Well, we had asked for a more comprehensive look at a holistic. The language was around confidence going into your graduating, so confidence going into graduation.
Mm-hmm. And so
things like attendance are important. But what I was specifically asking about is kindergarten readiness in the fall. How does that help us understand our system?
But that's not what we're measuring. And so for sub-ins 1, so if I can direct you back to, it is graduation and advancement. And so it has a component when you look at the holistic child, when you talk about sub-ins 1, 2, and 3, and when they all come together, that is a comprehensive approach. But it won't neatly fit into sub-ins 1. I don't think that it's appropriate, quite honestly.
So I'll keep listening is probably
Yes,
better. I'll listen.
yes.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So sub-ends 1 also, as you mentioned, speaks to the confidence that our graduates will have to access college and career and other post-secondary experiences. So the metrics used to show the confidence of each graduate are the Michigan Student Voice Survey, the Panorama Survey, and then also the total SAT score.
Good evening. And now sub-N1 also, this portion talks about access, and we had a lot of conversation at the work session about access. And so the outcomes are increases in the total number of scholars who participate as measured by the below activities and programs, including a district-wide focus of closing the access opportunity gaps between our unique populations of scholars across our high schools. So the following are access points, embedded college advisor, 11th grade college and career readiness. SAT is a total score. Enrollment growth in all GRPS CTE pathways, common application completion, FAFSA completion, graduation, and I want to make a note as to what Matthew talked about in the Michigan Top 10, Goal 5, and then last but not least, to college through college.
And for those who may not be as familiar with To College Through College, it has been a long time, well, you all explain, it's your report.
We know that To College Through College is a wonderful collaboration of folks that want to make sure to support kids not only in their journey to get to post-secondary, but also as they're going through college as well. So providing not only access for help with FAFSA and things such as that, mentorship opportunities, but also as they go into post-secondary, how is it that we can come around folks to our youth, to support them in a way that has them persist through, because we know that the percentage of our youth that persist through that post-secondary could be bolstered. And so this is aimed at both the on-ramp to college and post-secondary, and then through college to help wrap arms around so that they not only get there, but they persist through.
I would like to intentionally add, though, that the To College Through College also is an intentional partnership with our district and the city of Grand Rapids that strictly serves our students in regards to getting them in front of all of the Michigan universities and colleges for they help them fill out not only their application, but also help them find scholarship. And then they do aid in each of the schools to come in and assist those students who are ready for secondary or post-secondary education. So it's an amazing program that we have in our district that our scholars can tap into for whatever their future readiness is for regarding to college. So it's an amazing program that this district has in that. So I just wanted to add that on top of that, because it is something that is a beautiful program that no other district has, to be frank.
And it also removes barriers, and so the through college portion of that is sometimes there are financial barriers or others that get in the way, and it might be small lab fees or other things that might be barriers, especially for first generation scholars who may not always know how to navigate and will get a bill and not know exactly what to do. And so there are other avenues to ensure that those supports and making sure that it's that soft connection or handoff between our district as well as some of the local colleges that are nearby. And they have expanded. There are some situations where they have expanded to out-state colleges as well. So there are some young people who have also participated in the To College Through College initiative who are not currently in-state students.
I just had a quick question on that last slide, please. So I really do appreciate expanding upon the access points as we discussed at our last work session. So I know we're going to probably, obviously take this as a whole collection of data, but do we have this disaggregated, or are we planning to have it by student ethnicity? Like you said, first generation college students, I would love to see that data. Obviously, we're looking at a big picture, right? But I would just love to see that data as well.
Yes, and so I can kind of front load that with each of our sub-ends as we are measuring graduation and achievement, academic achievement, personal responsibility and belonging. There will be those categories that are broken out by ethnicity, language, ELL status, and so that will be one of those will kind of be the metrics that are standard, so that you're able to see with each of the metrics of how are we doing as an aggregate, as a whole, but then also when it's disaggregated by those smaller categories.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about future-ready pathways, one of the things we talk about is the expanded secondary learning opportunities.
which aligns with the top 10, Michigan top 10 goal number 4. And knowing that not all of our youth will be attending a college, a community college or a 4-year institution, and may have another pathway, and we want to honor that and certainly make sure that we are preparing for any pathway that our scholars want to take. So we talked about CTE, right, college and technical education pathways, NAF academies, that we have advanced placement, dual enrollment, international baccalaureate, the Michigan Seal of Biliteracy, early middle college, JROTC, and work-based learning, because those are all very important pathways. And we talked about also, through your feedback, making sure to disaggregate out not only how many of our kids are enrolled in any one of these or a multiple in a couple areas, but how are we, as our systems work, to your point, Ms. Melton, making sure that we have additional pathways based upon student interest and things like that. So it is about that systems work as well. We can look at scholars, but knowing our work begins with the planning and making sure that our pathways are not only presented for kids who want to take them the here and now, but then also future ready, right? What may be coming down the road that we have not done yet, CTE-wise, NAF Academy-wise, that could be of interest to our scholars. So we had a very robust conversation about that and wanting to make sure to provide that information and make sure that it's very well-rounded in doing so. Questions, feedback, and next steps?
Maybe you can share what the next steps are from your, from the, you know, again, additional questions that we've shared here tonight, and the work that you've already done. We are greatly appreciative to see that from our work session, there's been some additional changes. So what would be the next steps with regards to the this feedback as we again try to get to a place of a shared interpretation?
So we'll continue to integrate the feedback that you all have on sub-ins 1, and as we forecast sub-ins 2 and 3, that as well. So the next time we come together, I believe, is in November, where we'll unpack through a work session, sub-ins 2, so the academic achievement, as well as personal belonging and personal responsibility. And so once you've heard all of those things, the interpretation, the metric, and the desired outcomes, then eventually we will come to a vote. And so there are more iterations of conversation and building out all 3 and being explicit with what's cross-cutting and cleaning up some of the sub-ins, because they're heavy with good stuff, but this is supposed to also clarify and prioritize. So we'll be doing some of the cleanup work. What questions or concerns might you all have about next steps?
I have questions regarding, I'm going to, I hate the word piggyback, but elevate from what Jose was, Trustee Rodriguez, excuse me, mentioned in regard to data. And so one of the slides that mentioned about the data collection of being able to share out, especially when it comes to those outcomes or even first generation students looking at that, there's a lot of different housing of data platforms that I have. So how is that going to be communicated where we can easily either connect the entities that are reporting or be able to see that at a larger scale? Because, for instance, my work with 2 College, 3 College, and I know that specifically the universities are collecting data in regards to that what students are coming, in addition to what students are becoming first year college students, and then what they do after that first year of college as a freshman. So they're tracking some things in this I don't want to say publishing clearinghouse, but it's a clearinghouse of something, and I don't remember the technical name of that. But so how does all this data that's already existing and that we are currently collecting feed up to the outcomes?
you want me to take that?
Sure.
And so, if you recall, we talked about, this is our,
Baseline.
thank you. Baseline year, as we are, first of all, kind of defining what the metrics are that we're going to use, and then begin to kind of categorize them. And then one of the things that you all wrote in your policy is that having a schedule of, once we kind of define, this is our baseline using the following metrics, this will be reported here, this will be reported there, and so that'll be part of a schedule, and that'll build that cadence. What I think you're also talking about when you talk about the clearinghouse, it's also called SLED data, which is school longitudinal educational data, which includes some of these components that you build over time, and it talks from pre-K all the way through that post-secondary experience, but it takes a couple of years to kind of build it, especially when you talk about like graduation rates and what happens after college and, excuse me, not after college, after high school, and tracking high school graduates at least 1 to 2 years out to see how many of them, what their plan was, who went, some did something post-secondarily, the first 6 months, year and a half, 2, and then it's harder, the variable, or the ability, the confidence in other things that might be in the way are less tied to a school because people are adulting, so to speak, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. I think what, in addition to what you just answered, and thank you for that, is sitting at that table to hear all the different either schools that are present, and knowing that there's multiple different systems, they're all not speaking to each other. So it really makes me wonder, what platform or what can be used to kind of house and pull the different components that we're looking for to report out on that, so it can be easier for the user, meaning the teachers, anybody else, or the administration to put it in, but also to report out because they're not all connected.
And so, what you would see is more aggregate data, and so it wouldn't be something necessarily that teachers are individually reporting. It would be aggregate data by some of those subgroups that we talked about, African American, Latino, all those subgroups that we're able to pull from our evaluation and assessment team, and then kind of deciding what the platform would be is, once we kind of agree on what the metrics are, to say what is the easiest, and easiest is not the right word, but a dashboard, so to speak, that you're able to kind of disaggregate and look at it, but we can't decide what the platform is until we decide on what the metrics are, and that would be what is best suited for that. And then how would it be, again, what are the reporting mechanism? Is it graduation, for example? That would be an annual type of report because we graduate annually. Other metrics that we would use might be more frequent. At the end of semesters, you would be reporting course completion as an example. And so there would be different times that different reports would be shared, but then you would still, over the course of a year, you'd be able to see a full picture of all of those things that we just have kind of started to unpack, but they would be reported at different times, just because they would naturally happen at different times, if that, does that help clarify?
That helps clarify. Even when I was looking at the data, the aspect, or what in the presentation, I'm thinking about the aspect of collecting even what students have access in or go to dual enrollment, right? There's multiple different factors that play into a journey of a student's success. And so how does that get pulled where we can actually see it that? Because they also will help identify the gaps as well. That's the data can help tell the story and identify where the missing pieces are. And so I guess I'm looking at a way to how do we get to that point where we can see how this can be leveraged to produce better outcomes for our scholars in the district as a whole.
Using the dual enrollment example, that would be ideally presented at semesters and then a full year picture, because typically, kids are not that adjusting their schedules as such, but you would be able to say, out of our X hundred students, 20% of them are participating in dual enrollment, or this, you'd be able to look at that information, but you would be still reporting it, have very specific timeframes when it would be reported.
Just one more question to branch off of Trustee Edmonds is there, and obviously maybe we don't have the answer yet, but is there another, neighboring district that does do well in collecting post-secondary data? And what system do they use? How well do they capture it? And how can we get on board to, start doing that as well? Because, that's not something that I've necessarily, been aware of, but, maybe.
No, and so here's how we should be looking at data. You want to look at it from that 30,000-foot view, say nationally, and then statewide, and then more local. And so, and local means local within our district. And so other districts do not necessarily do what we're proposing at this point.
right.
And I can't say that no one does it, so I don't want to, please don't hear it as that. But I am not aware of, and that's why I said it's looking at that SLED data, you know, that school longitudinal educational data,
Yep.
and creating kind of our own structure so that we can start to collect that over time. And so this year is our baseline year to start that process, and understanding there will be opportunities to refine. So we want to make sure that people understand this is not a completed project. It will be iterative, and we'll also, as we are doing that refinement, to say, oh, maybe a more appropriate data point would be blah, or, you know, something of that nature, so that we're actually can be more predictive related to, we want to see more Black boys attend AP classes, and so how are we supporting, you know, kind of backfilling that? So that will come with kind of creating that baseline data.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, thank you for the clarification.
I do have a quick question. I'm just trying to, and following the conversation, Trustee Rodriguez, when you talk about the post-secondary data, are you curious about tracking completion, post-secondary completion, or what do you?
Yeah, completion, maybe taking, you know, an alternative path, right? Maybe they don't finish a 4-year degree, but maybe they attend and get a certificate program, or maybe they transfer over to, you know, a trade school, anything like that. So not necessarily completion, but just, you know, what are our scholars doing, you know, after they leave us.
So maybe my question,
We're usually able to track for 2 years.
well, I guess maybe that was my question. In general, maybe I'm not tracking, but are we offering that because of the challenges in tracking completion data, that we're not going to leverage what is available through the clearinghouse? Well, actually, the clearinghouse, depending on the institution, and that's on the post-secondary to do the reporting. If the post-secondary reports, you can use the clearinghouse to track for up to 6 years at any respective institution if the institution reports, but obviously we don't have any influence over them reporting. So I guess I'm just curious on where we are as far as a commitment to do what we can to track completion data, post-secondary completion, regardless of what that avenue is.
Post-graduation or post-secondary?
Post-secondary completion, because it is one thing to obviously, graduation rates and things like that are an indication of some degree of readiness, but obviously the proof is in the pudding as far as folks really completing. I'm not saying that's necessarily on us wholly, but that is a significant data point that would inform how ready our young people are when they do leave our district.
And so I would push that, to answer the first part of the question is our ability or level of commitment. I think it is important to be able to kind of track with the understanding of that caveat that if a post-secondary institution does not report that data, there's not always a very clean way to kind of pull that and to make sure that it's accurate. But with respect to the other variables, yes, to be able to track for a certain period of time, I think it is important, but also understanding that there are other variables that may possibly influence someone's ability to complete their schooling, and finances might be one of those things, as an example. And so that's not necessarily indicative of how well they were prepared. It might be other barriers. And so that's where it gets less predictive, so to speak, but we can still report what information we're able to collect.
Just have a question about going forward with the ends work. So as we continue to get feedback and you make, you know, adjustments according to our feedback, it would help me, maybe my colleagues as well, to kind of highlight the changes, so I'm looking at this presentation and last presentation, and I'm wondering, like,
What was different?
what was different?
And so I don't want to seem like I'm not paying close attention, but it's a lot to pay attention to. So if there's a way that we could just say, like, this was the feedback and this is this is how we adjusted, I think that would help all of us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I would just say overall, I commend our team and really listening to our community to say this is about a holistic approach. It's not just about, can students make it to college? It's so much bigger and more encompassing than that. So I would just want to remind us that there are so many tellers during the years that they spend in our system that we have opportunity to look at. And you've articulated a lot of metrics here in this report. What I thought would be in here and what I would still like to see, though, is what is it about these things? So just for an example, you have embedded college advisor. Is it just access to the advisor? Is the advisor only for college? When you say kindergarten readiness, again, what is it about kindergarten readiness you're looking for? Are you looking just for engagement, or is it improvement? Is it specific types of improvement? When you look at I think it's called the 360, there is a whole piece around, let's see, like college, like to college through college, for example. What is it? Just participation? So what seems to be important in these kind of conversations is the specific that we would like to see our students do as they move through our system to indicate that they are growing in ways that are holistic and make them prepared, help them be prepared for that confidence of leaving our system.
So what you're describing is basically a mixed method approach, and so I think there's some quantitative things that we'd be able to easily report, like percentage of this and things of that, where it becomes a different level of it's more of that qualitative. So when you say like to college through college, as an example, that is a different level of gathering data, because it might be the experience of what this one person or this group of kids may have had, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can draw, and I'm not going to use the right word, but it's more kind of fine-tuned to individual experiences. So it could be how we're collecting data, and I don't know that, and I'm not suggesting this, so I'm using this as an example. Those who participated in to college through college, a data collection point might be a focus group of those who participated in to college through college versus those who did not, or some other kind of study, which from a capacity, no, I'm just saying when you're asking about what is it, and so we're trying to look at an aggregate comprehensive look. I don't know if there's some of those finer things, and I'm just giving the example back when you said just with to college through college, not to say positively or negatively in anything about it, but because that's such a unique experience, and how they provide service to those scholars is very individualized to what they particularly need.
But so as a board, though, we've asked you to use the research out there and to basically place your bets, right? So we're saying, we know that if attendance improves and if students are graduating ninth grade, or not graduating, but finishing ninth grade with a certain amount of percentage of credits, we're asking you to say, these are the things that are going to indicate something positive. So I guess what I'm asking for, and I thought this is what we had all said, is we want some more specificity around what you believe to be the best indicators of that growth. I realize that there are, of course, nuances to, whether a student has all their credits in ninth grade doesn't guarantee anything. But that's what we've asked you to do, though, is to use the research to give us the best guess as to what will help us have a more healthy, comprehensively productive system.
And I'll add to that, if that's okay, is the aspect of what we highlighted in the previous slide around, and I'm intentionally using the NAF Academies, right? The NAF Academies have, and we have different themes, of course, but when I'm thinking about specifically the NAF Academies and what data they collect on that, that speaks to 100% graduation rate, depending on their programs, where there's measures that they have that say, getting connected to industry experts, having access to do exploratory trips that gives them gain the access. Those are the things that pop up that they are indicating that plays into the role for successful outcomes and producing what we're saying for that. So I think what I'm hearing is those type of specific things, which quite frankly was not highlighted, but I know that they're doing even through the NAF program. So when I think about that, I think it's actually looking at that already and pulling that out, because you're already getting it. You're already pulling and collecting that data.
I think they need to pull it out, though, Trustee Eman, because I'm thinking, this is what we're saying, by being involved in NAF, by being involved in college through college, by being involved in these things, it increases the likelihood that students will do well. So I don't think we need the specifics necessarily of how many kids are connected to who, as much as they're involved in NAF. We know that's going to be great for them. They're
Correct,
passing
and
ninth grade.
that's what I'm speaking
That's-
to, is the aspect of those things that we provide to our scholars from the district. And it's not gonna be a one-size-fits model, hence why there's so many different aspects of that. Those would, depending on what your taste is, I guess I always relate things to food. So depending on what your appetite or your taste is, will be an indicator of what you will gravitate to that plays into the overall success of that individual, right? And so it's that ownership of both and their appetite to actually eat what's being given, right? But also the appetite or the production of what's providing. And so I think that it's a both and in that. And so what I'm saying is I also see, I think it could have been easily highlighted because you're already collecting that work already with the stuff in those programs. And so I see what you're saying in that, but it's pull it out.
And
'Cause
so,
you're already doing it.
so I want to remind again what we're actually trying to measure, because we could easily go down several different kind of pathways, and that's not the point of this particular ends. And so it doesn't mean that it's not part of good discussion and it could be anecdotal information. It has to be, what is the direct correlation between our programmatic pieces and the things that we are doing, and how does it tie to graduation? And so because if we start going down various kind of, it's not necessarily that it's not good information, but tying it back to how are we able to monitor it as across a system. And so again, I think this is good discussion, but we want to make sure that we are being really clear as to what we're measuring, because we could take 50 things, and I don't think that's the point of this. It's like, what are we doing programmatically that supports graduation and achievement, and what does that look like? And tying it back to how many people have participated in this, or ninth grade completion, all those other kind of things. And so we want to be really able to hold the data in a way that supports what we're actually truly trying to measure.
That's helpful. So that's what we're asking for. It's just what you just said. Almost like another column where you say, this is just sheer involvement. We're looking for an increased involvement. This, in like the Panorama survey, we're looking for an increase in satisfaction with teachers. So that's exactly what we're talking about. It's just this other column of what is it you're looking for in these specific things that we would know indicate growth.
It's like one step deeper.
Yeah, one step. And I think it's just what you just said, Dr. Roby, so thank you for saying that. That's helpful.
Ms. Jackie, you said something?
I guess I'm just wondering if that's the next step, though, and I hesitated because I'm really not sure. But this is all new, right? We've never done it before. So do we first get the abundance of data, and then from there make determinations on what from that data are we going to use to demonstrate success for our scholars? I just wonder if we're trying to get too granular too fast. But I really don't know. It's a wondering.
And because this is baseline, I think that, again, as I said, it is iterative, and we will have to kind of wrestle with some of these things. I think having even 4 or 5 metrics as a starting point is a good place to start, and then to decide how do we refine from there, or if that really is not a direct correlation between what we're trying to measure, and is there a different tool or a different lever that we should be looking at. But again, that's what I was saying. If we put everything in, it really is hard to kind of disaggregate what really is the most effective, if that makes sense. So, and again, I'm not saying it has to be 5, but I don't think it should be 25 either. So.
But our job is the governance component of it. So we are asking you to look at the research and make a decision about, say, 5 things, if that's.
Yeah, and I'm not saying,
sure.
Please. I'm not saying 5, I'm just saying that, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good discussion. Yes. All right, the last presentation under superintendent report is our Summer of Success report. Mr. Atkins will come forward. One of the things that we are trying to, and you will see this in the ends report too at a later date, but this is specific to summer 2024 and the work that has been done, and he is providing a summary overview of that work.
I think maybe not this far away.
Good evening once again. Again, Mel Atkins, Executive Director of Community Student Affairs. And today I'm here to, my pleasure actually, of highlighting our Ignite summer programs for 2024. As we always do, we look at our priority scholar outcomes, how they're connected first. As you see, we want to increase literacy and math proficiency, reducing academic disparities for Black and Latino scholars, and increase scholar empowerment belonging in agencies. And it connects to theme 2 and 4. So reviewing the, where do we have the summer programs and what times? There were 6 different locations. You see the locations between Burton, the Burton campus, Gerald R. Ford, Harrison, Kent Hills, and Ridgemore were the elementary and/or middle school site. And then this year, GRPS, or Grand Rapids University Preparatory Academy, held our high school division. The program was 6 weeks long, June 17th through July 25th, Monday through Thursday, with no school on the 4th of July. And then what we did, you can see the times with that, and we did have loop programming or EL programming in the afternoon for identified scholars. And the focus for elementary and middle school was ELA and math with social emotional learning and project-based component wrapped around that. And then high school was a credit recovery portion. We actually had 8 different programs running during the summer. You can see between the Ignite, K-8, 9, 12, the Loop, Purposely Playing Towards Kindergarten, et cetera, GRASP. But for this purpose for today, we're going to focus on just the Ignite K-12 programs. One thing that we try to do, and I want to really start here, because we think it's really important as we involve community in our efforts to reduce the summer learning loss, was summer partnerships. And so if you look at that, we had seven different summer partnerships that we were able to really cultivate for this past summer. First one being at Van Andel Institute. They were extremely important in the sense that we, for the previous 2 summers, we were doing project-based learning. And so we partnered with Van Andel because they had what you call Blue Apple projects. And then they had curriculum around it, and it was really a wonderful professional development. They provide all the materials, and teachers really got to go hands-on with project-based learning through the Blue Apple projects through the Van Andel Institute. And then Grand Rapids Outside, you see Kids Food Basket, I'll highlight that one really quick too. Really going off-site, connecting, students got to learn about growing food, sustainability, and how to and how that works, and how sack suppers are packaged. So they got to go hands-on off-site to the Kids Food Basket site as well. When you look at WMCAT, that's been a long-standing partner for us for a while, and that's always one of my favorite ones to witness, because students learn skills like music production, fiber arts, photography, video production, just to give an example of what they got to learn during their experiences there. Another partnership we did at the public library. We know reading and having access to print-rich material at their grade level is really important. And so there was a reading challenge, but at the end of that challenge, each student received a book and a special prize as well. And then the last one I'm just going to highlight is the Civic Theater. That was really hosting, really for 4th and 5th graders. It was on July 23rd. It was an interactive workshop at Gerald R. Ford around with the Civic Theater. But there were a few other partners too, but we want to highlight these as well. And so when we look at enrollment, who came? Or who was enrolled? We know scholars, we said, again, it was ELA and math focus with project-based learning for K-8s, and then 9-12, you can see there were just over 1,800 enrolled in K-8s, and 9-12, just over 340 scholars enrolled. One thing we tried to do really this year with our communications, and we had weekly communications that went out, social media, really in person, a lot of things that went with enrollment. We're still about half of our students that enrolled attended, and so that's still an area of focus that we're trying to do. And we're hoping that as we go to the next couple slides, that you see the results, that who shows up makes a difference. And so we want to make sure, when people watch this video, that summer does make a difference, and our results have shown for it for multiple years. And so, in saying that, what I'm showing you now is reading and math scores, our RIT scores, and so think about that as achievement levels, really comparing growth over a period of time. And so what it's showing you is fall to fall. So on the left, you see the Ignite summer attendees in reading. You see they increased by 6 percentage points. And for the non-attendees that did not attend, they went down 1 percentage point. And then it's a very similar thing when you see with math. And so our Ignite summer attendees went up 7 percentage points when comparing fall to fall. And then if you did not attend a summer, there was no gain or no loss. It was at a 0. And so I remember last year, I actually remember Trustee Milton asking what was the difference, because last year we showed pretty high gains as well, but we didn't have the non-attendees separate. And so this year I made sure I made that difference, and you can see. So we're proud of this point here. The other thing I'm really proud of, one of it shows here is for high school, we know it makes a difference. It doesn't matter if you ultimately graduate in May, if you graduate in June or July. It's just that you did it and you have a story to tell. And so there were 13 scholars that were able to graduate because of the Ignite summer 9 through 12 program. I mean, we're excited about that. Well, I'm equally as excited, there were 77.5 additional credits earned during that summer 6-week session. And so, when we're trying to dispel the myth, if it does summer really matter, and it does. When you think around the experiences we had with the partnerships, the number of graduations, you look at our RIT data, and then also a number of scholars to recover credits. All of that makes a difference. And so what you see here is some of just the anecdotal data that we were able to capture around what they liked between scholars and caregivers. For example, I like the kindness of my teacher. And so I picked that one today because we heard, earlier today around the great teachers being recognized for Teachers of the Year. And we do have some of the best teachers that you can imagine. And then you can see caregiver feedback. My second grader learned to read and sound out words in books. This was a major win, all capitals. It really truly makes a difference. And so, as you can imagine, or maybe even not, is summer planning has actually started for the 2025 school year. It's really almost a 11 to 12 month process of getting this underway. And so we know we want to really continue to look at more experiences that go beyond the classroom. We think if families or caregivers are giving us a chance to work with their babies, it's important that we give them experiences that other children have as well. And we know it's going to take partnerships, equitable access to summer programming. And then we know outcomes do make a difference. We want to play and have fun, but we know outcomes still make a difference. And then one thing we know, and we know this, but we're going to do it, and then if we do anything, we're going to do this, is when you think about the 50% of scholars that attended the summer programming, one way we know that works is directly involve scholars in the planning. get their input, get their feedback from day one or day two or day three early on and along the process, and let them tell you what they want. And so that is our plan, especially at the middle school level. And we might have to, start smaller. I don't know if we can do it K-12 yet, but now at the middle school level, walking through the halls with some scholars last year, the light bulb went on and said, we have to ask them. We have to have them plan. We have to have focus groups. We have to continue to do, because they know what they want and they know when they will attend. And so that's really a major focus for us coming up for the 2025 summer. So questions, comments?
I don't see any, but I do have one, and I don't know if you can answer this, so if you can't, I understand, and maybe you can get back to me later. But do we know how our students are faring before they enter? So when I say that, it's like, if we have a student that is, they're a C student, right? And they do this summer learning experience through Ignite. And then when they go back to school in fall, I know you're saying there some points are going up, but are we seeing that there is a more committed student that is now there, where this C student now may be growing to a point where now they're a B student, as they have learned some tools and skills through the summer, that now that they're applying them back in fall? So I'm just kind of wondering a little bit more about that.
And so that's a fantastic question. And so what I have to do is work with the team to really try to pull that data. We haven't looked at it. What you're really talking about is longitudinal. Is the summer experiences transferring besides, I would say, the fall MAP scores? Is it going past that? So what they learn, can they transfer throughout the school year? That's a really excellent question. And so we're probably going to look at kids that either attended 1 year, 2 years, or if we can even go longer than that, we can, to see if there's any gains that were sustained over time.
With that, I think a way to start to track that, as we were talking about even the presentation before, when we were talking about looking at baseline information, those, since we know by grade span in particular, say if we look at middle school as baseline, those who, what their grades were for middle school in the 23-24 school year, and then what their grades are for 24-25, and to say, and again, it's not necessarily tells a full story, but it also kind of begins to shape, like, if somebody who was a C or D student in their 6th grade or 7th grade year, has that changed, those who have participated in summer school versus those who may not have, and to kind of dig into that. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm sorry, you want to say something?
No, I wanted to, so I feel like I missed something, so I want to make sure I heard. So are you saying to track it in regards to like the progress over time, and see like if they did go for that 1 year, like are we seeing continuous improvement as they continue to move forward each grade?
Well, not even each grade, because I think some of this, and I think about just kind of what I see when we're talking about the numbers of how many people enroll versus how many actually do. And I'm assuming that probably it's more of the students who really need that versus the students who are doing okay, that may have actually initially enrolled, like, okay, yeah, maybe I will, but then those who actually go through are the ones who really need it. And if it is translating to the way they, I guess I don't have another word to use at this, but how they do school, or how they take those skills that they have received over the summer and those experiences, and does it change their perspective about the learning environment, that now this student is coming from a place of, now I have this desire to learn, and now I am more motivated, and I'm trying harder, and I'm giving more effort, and I'm being intentional in that regard. So I'm just wondering if, when we are looking at those who actually attend, if they were kind of, and I'm assuming they probably, again, need the support there, that is it translating with them over time? Because I see, again, the numbers are going up for testing and things of that nature, but again, that's not everybody. So I'm wondering about, hey, hey, is there been a kind of academic shift for that student?
And if I like what you're saying, I also just like to elevate that for aspect of this. Just reminds me like the previous presentation as far as a marker of an indicator, where if they are going into that, let's say they went for the summer school freshman year, we'll just say freshman, like, did they gain the skill sets beyond the confidence, but they also identify what the issue were that they can actually now progressively move forward, and you see a change in that as a result of that exposure to whatever they were exposed to in summer school. Like, how do we track that?
All right, I would definitely take
This is a
take that
question, just a
feedback.
thought. I'm just wondering, like I said, you probably didn't have the answer when I asked, but I'm just wondering if it is a perspective or thought process that we could take. And the reason why I really kind of went there was because I think if we can sell that story, that will help us when we get 1,800 students enrolled, we'll get 1,800 students show up, because now that we can say, hey, we're seeing this turnaround, we're seeing this growth, we're looking at these numbers, we're looking at how our students are, again, kind of in some ways really owning their academic experience, as well as parents understanding as well. Because I do think that that's an important piece that really, it could be something as small as they struggled in this area, and now that experience and that 101 time has really given them what they need to now this student is bought in. I don't know.
I think that could be captured in surveys too. Just how is your child's confidence different, or just asking parents how they're reacting to school after summer school. I think that is some good data and questions to ask in like parent surveys, because you wouldn't see it. The teachers in summer aren't their teachers in the fall, so how would you know? But my question is, I don't have a better way to ask him. Why aren't we looking at spring 24 to fall 24 tests rather than fall to fall to track what summer is doing? Because what I see is that our students grew from fall 2023 to fall 2024, but they did go to summer school. But how do we actually know that was summer school that created that growth? But wondering if the growth from their spring test scores to fall would actually show like who retained. Like if I didn't go to summer school from spring to fall, then I would grow. I would maybe not grown, but you get what I'm trying to say.
I do.
And just correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought there was already data existing that if there isn't any form of like summer activation for any of that, regardless of from the time they get out into the fall, there's already like almost, I want to say, like a mini restart and a loss as a result of that not being implemented. So I don't know if that would be like
It's summer slide, and so what we do is we take the NWA assessment in the fall, winter, and spring, and so there's other variables, and so summer school. Summer school in and of itself, I think, is an intervention, but you can't just solely point to it's the magic pill, so to speak, because there's other variables that come into play as well. And so I don't know that you can fully tease out, but that's why you do the NWA map assessment a couple of times a year to see where kids are. And then in response to the young people who participate in summer school, they are typically those who have, based around teacher recommendations on how they are performing at grade level, with the exception of high school, because that becomes credit recovery. That's a different opportunity. And so, but for those who are under, in middle school and younger, it is based on recommendation and how they are performing in school. The other piece, and I don't know if, when I stepped out of the room, if Mr. Atkins shared this, we have also had a very intentional drive around, did you talk about that a little?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Yes.
Intentional drive around promotion of summer school, all year, and we started that early, and then it really is very much a year-round kind of promotion, so that people do see that it is a way to support young people, and then also making it fun, because if we just say we're just going to more school, that's not necessarily a motivator for families and kids.
Did you talk about the attendance this year? I feel like we talked about attendance last year. Like, was it better? Did the students come?
So it was very similar compared to last year, but this year I can say, reiterate what Dr. Roy was saying, that there was a concerted effort to really weekly reminders, responses, communication. This is why we're saying kind of the next step with this, especially at the middle school levels, what we're going to probably start to focus on is bringing scholars to the table to plan it behind the scenes, and not having it, kind of totally cooked and asking their opinion, but walking with them to figure out what this is. And it's the scholars it's a range of scholars. We're not looking for, you have to have all A's or anything like that. We're looking for scholars that really have opinions and voice.
Yeah, because the A scholars won't be at summer school.
No.
Right. But I guess my other question about attendance and the summer school experience as a whole is the amount of time that they're there, and how parents may not value a 2 or 3 hour day as opposed to a 5 hour day. And so, because I used to do RRR, and we was there from 11 to 5, and we had 80, 90 kids every single day, and we did academics, right? But just wondering just how we can increase our time in the summertime and allow scholars to have more than just academics throughout the day. And I'm just gonna put that out there. I would love to see our days extended, and that would not be all on us as our, GRPS, but in partnerships with other programming, allowing our kids to have a full day. And I think it would increase the attendance. So you got a whole year to figure that out, Mel.
It started.
Thank you very much. Next, we have on our agenda some action items, and the first is the resolution to approve a contract for the Grand Rapids Public School Paraprofessionals Association. Colleagues, is there any questions with regards to this action item? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution for the contract of the Grand Rapids Public Schools Parapro Association?
Motion.
Is there support?
Support.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign? All righty. Next, we have our purchasing agenda. Colleagues, are there any questions with regards to the purchasing agenda?
I will be recusing myself as I am an employee of Kent School Services Network, proudly love KSSN, but I cannot approve their contract, so thank you.
I do have just a quick question about the psych social work LOA. Do we pay that regardless of how many people are actually acquired through that system? Oh, it's the next one. Thank you. So I will hold that question. Strike
Okay.
it, please.
How you say that? Recuse myself. I am a KSSN board member.
Wonderful. All righty. So is there a motion to approve the purchasing agenda?
Thank you.
So moved.
Is there
Support.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Then the purchasing agenda is approved. Next, we have our purchasing agenda addendum. Are there any questions with regards to the purchasing agenda addendum?
This is yours. This is your question.
Do you want me to repeat the question? Yes. Okay. Just wondering, the LOA we have with the social work psych team, are we paying that amount even if they don't have people in place for us? And I guess first, I've heard that there are still some vacancies, so I'm just wondering if that full amount is always given regardless of the number of people we have in place. Gary's right there.
If you all could come, please come down to the table.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna be assembled on that.
Good evening, Dr. Roby, President Williams, and Board. We're going to pull a contract here to ensure we're answering you correctly.
And maybe you know casually too, I mean, are they being filled? What's going on with the,
Exactly
the
which
needs?
one?
social work psych contract?
Not yet, we're waiting here. And then from there, once approved, then we would move towards looking at what we have available to
Yeah, who can
interview.
come? And then in the meantime, are people taking on extra students?
Yeah, they're helping. They're all hands on deck.
Okay.
We do have an LOA with the GREA from last year into this year that if they are doing work above and beyond their caseload, there is compensation for that.
Great.
Is there a motion to approve the purchasing agenda addendum?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign?
Aye.
I'm not opposed, but I'm still
Yeah.
wondering is it the same amount even if we don't have people? I guess I wanted to know that. I'm sorry, before I could vote.
Yeah, I looked up the
Yeah.
maximum contract. What's the other service provider?
It's emerges, it's not
Emerges, yeah.
It's just emerges?
just for
Okay.
social work and psychs, yes.
Okay, yeah, it says maximal will submit invoices to customer every week for personnel provided to customer during the preceding week.
What?
So it says they will submit invoices
Yes.
every week for any personnel provided during
Thank you.
that week.
So that
if they
amount
don't
may be
provide
less
any,
towards the
then
end
we
of
can
the year.
assume that
Thank
there
you.
wouldn't be.
Now I'm ready to vote. Thank
invoice.
you. Okay, well, I didn't. It's enough. Okay.
I hope you received the clarity.
Yeah.
Next, we need a approval of the consent agenda groupings. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? All right. We are moving
Thank
on
you, guys.
to, board president announcements. And so I want to let you know that the board is going to be on the road again, and we will be on November 11th at Union, and on December 9th, we'll be at Ottawa High School. So please mark your calendars, accept that calendar invite when our lovely board secretary sends it, if that helps keep you on schedule like it does me. November 11th, we're at Union. December 9th, we're at Ottawa Hills. All righty. And then we are on to our next public comment section. Kathy, if you'll really you can give us the abbreviated version.
Abbreviated version, all right. If you wish to address the board, you must fill out the public comment card. We have two public comment sections. We've heard from the ones on the agenda items, and now we are going to speak about the non-agenda items. Individuals must fill out the front of the card and indicate the specific business on which they wish to comment. We ask that speakers refrain from making abusive statements against board members, employees, volunteers, or contractors. And if it is such a case that you wish to make a complaint about any of us or any of those people, they have to be gone, you have to go through the appropriate process established under the board policy. You will be invited one at a time to address the board. Before beginning your comment, please start your full name. At that time, Mr. Rodriguez will be starting the clock, and you can keep track of how long you've been talking up here on the clock.
Wonderful. First, we have Seth Moore, and then on deck, we'll have D. Jones.
Good evening, board members. Seth Moore here. First, I would like to congratulate you on your decision to finally listen to the students, staff, parents, and the union regarding the ineffectiveness of Elevate K-12. Moving away from this platform is a bold step in the right direction, positioning us to truly become the reimagined GRPS that we envision. In-person teachers matter. They provide a level of holistic learning and care that virtual educators who lack the direct investment in our students' growth simply cannot replicate. This shift ensures that we are putting students first by giving them the personalized education they deserve. Being here tonight, I also just want to recognize Alex Smart and the facilities team for installing baby changing stations in the bathrooms here. May seem like a small improvement to some, but it was really significant to me because I don't have to change a baby on the floor. So thank you to everybody for that. And then I just really want to continue to urge the board to listen to the voices of our students, staff, parents, and the union. As you did with the Elevate K-12 decision, it matters. We are here working together, hand in hand, to make this a better district. We speak up because we care. We care deeply about this district, and we want to see it succeed. We want to build a better, reimagined GRPS, and we can only do that, and it's only possible if the board remains open to working alongside all of us. Together, we can meet these challenges and create a school system that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
D. Jones. On deck, we'll have Janie.
How y'all doing? All positive energy and love to y'all. I'm D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary. And first off, I wanted to say, I want to just elevate our black leaders on this council. As a black person, this is the second worst city for economic development. And I don't think you guys really inherited these problems from our city, from our education system. These are issues that were here before, generations before you guys, but I know that you guys work diligently and very hard to be able to change the system as best as you can. Also, I want to lift up some cool things because with the work I've been doing around esports, I got asked to join the Forbes Business Council, which is very, very cool. So I could be one of those people that actually putting out articles on Forbes and actually giving out feedback. And so it's funny how the universe works. I'm really big on universal energy and putting a positive energy. And I believe we create our own realities. But I'm really just excited to really be able to say that I was asked to be on the Forbes Business Council. I'm also one of the finalists for Forbes 30 Under 30 for games. So me being a person of color, standing before you, educating people on esports, I looked at my Facebook a couple years ago, and a couple years ago I was actually connected with myself to actually ask them about esports. So it's this funny full circle how these beautiful things are happening. I know the education system is going to change. You guys are going to be able to help change the education system, and we all can do this as a community because I don't look to just create problems or cause issues. I just try to hear the issues of our community and try to find solutions to just make things better for the whole holistic of society for everyone. And so I really care about our community. I hope that young visionaries of color, young white people, just people of all ethnicities and backgrounds see that you can do it, that you can be in one of the worst cities in America for economic development and change your city. And it came from advocacy. It came from speaking to you guys. It came from going to city council. It came from just being genuine and being stand up and just being able to ask the hard questions and just going hard as you can. And so I'm just very thankful to be able to help y'all to be able, because the work that I've done here in advocacy here actually helped me get to ask be on the Forbes Business Council and the Forbes 30 Under 30. So my school district, I'm just very excited to be able to help you all to be a passionate entrepreneur, to uplift our black leaders and everyone on the council, because without you guys, I wouldn't been able to ask to be on Forbes Business Council, to be a finalist for Forbes 30 Under 30 for their games category. I think the future is very beautiful for everyone here on the city council, and I just wanted to uplift you guys again. I'll be back, and you guys have a beautiful one.
Ms. Neiman. Next, we have Mr. Leverett.
Good evening again. I just want to speak out about a couple of issues. Number one, you hopefully heard me say previously about the issue with supplies. There are, I believe, still some issues, but it has taken a very long time for some teachers to get their supplies this school year. And I don't remember that happening much in the past, so that was very concerning to a lot of our members and staff members. Also am a little concerned with the board meeting policy decision that was made about once a month, and also the night that was chosen. It I think makes the meetings go a bit longer, but also it is the second Monday of the month, which for a lot of our staff is a professional development day. They have PLCs for 90 minutes. So that makes it a very long evening. And I am also concerned about the snail's pace of our negotiations. As you know, we will be bargaining our entire contract soon with the GREA, and currently just bargaining restorative topics is moving at a snail's pace. The biggest concern, I think, for many of us is that when you have a bargaining agreement, there is within it a method for dealing with issues that arise when the contract is violated, and those are called grievances. And currently, that is something that seems to be, that our district's legal representation is insisting that we do not have that right as we continue to move forward in bargaining with certain topics. And I think that it is essential that with all of the issues that we have had in the past, that that right be respected. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. I think that that would move things along much more quickly. There are a lot of people concerned that we have not made any movement at all, and I think that we could do a better job moving forward. Thank you.
Lucas Leverett. On deck, we'll have Marjorie Cangelos.
Good evening, Lucas Leverett. In my comments that you cheated, abused power once again, and skipped earlier, I was going to offer an apology for my part of recent mudslinging and suggest that others should too, no matter who they're married to on this board. But you're not getting that apology now, or the praise that I had prepared for your bylaw 1180 changes. Good job. Let's move on, shall we? The grip held by nepotism, sorority loyalties, permissiveness for abuse, a culture of retribution, wasteful spending, the endless screwing of teachers with regard to pay is all coming to an end. Those who are seeing their reign of corruption cease will use any tactic they can in a last-ditch Trump-style tantrum to manipulate the community. It is easier for these sorts of henchmen to bait people with demographics than to face the honest and fair criticism that has been earned. We see that all the time from centers of power. Confront Israel's shared responsibility for conflict or their war crimes, and you're attacked for being anti-Semitic. Recognize Columbus as a genocidal colonizing fraud, and you're anti-Italian. Criticize a woman leader and you're sexist. Criticize a black leader on a power trip or an Asian leader who lied to the public, and you're racist. Spin the wheel of distraction. It's better than facing reality. I am very aware that in this city, like all over the country, power has been denied to certain groups, and it was never okay. But we have to be willing to confront the reality that power once denied has become power corrupted. The way we fix this is by voting in a majority who will force change. Preferably a majority that recognizes the change needs to be in a hurry for our kids and our teachers. Pick a mix of candidates to bring skills to this board that are missing, like Williamson's political know-how, or people like Nunez, Marino, and Trustee Eatman, who provide the diverse and deep knowledge we already enjoy and enhance it with more. We honestly have 5 amazing people running for the 4 seats, even if Ms. Kilpatrick's approaches are not my personal cup of tea. So it's all on the ballot, Grand Rapids. The next major step to changing the course of this failing school system is for you to vote. I'll see you at the polls.
Ms. Cangelos, Jellos, help me. On deck, we'll have Rufus Granderson.
I'm Margie Cangelosi. It's a hard one. Sorry. I'm a GRPS parent and a GRPS grad. And I don't know that I've never been to a board meeting. I'm not sure I'm in the right place. I really want to just, I'm trying to advocate for funding for after-school programs for non-athletic teams. And I've just gotten stuck in bureaucracy, and I was coming hoping that someone could tell me who I should be talking to, who makes budget decisions of that kind for either now or for the future. Who should I be trying to talk to? Or maybe you can't answer that, and maybe I could give you my email address and someone could respond to me, but I've tried my principal and Mr. Beresford and Dr. Kroll, and I emailed you guys, and I'm just going about things all the wrong way, and so I wanted to do it the right way, but I don't know what that is. So can I give you my email address and get that information?
Ms. Cangelosi. Cangelosi. I apologize.
It's okay.
And so what I will do is direct Mr. Beresford, because I know you started with him. We actually had a conversation about this today, and so to have a follow-up with you, if that helps.
Talk to him again.
Yeah, we had a conversation about it today, and so
Okay.
I would say start there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, can I get a next step? If we've talked you're a great man, but we've talked multiple times. Is there just one more step if that doesn't work out?
Talk to Mr. Beresford. I can't give you a step, yeah, because I don't want to overcommit, but yeah, there has been some conversation about that.
Mr. Granderson, and on decks, we'll have Selma Tucker.
Name is Rufus Granderson, proud graduate out of Williams High School. I'm up here just as a former student, GRPS, and I was started coming here to observe, right? And so I just wanted to observe, and I was here multiple times. I heard things, whatever, but I was here just to observe. And the reason I stood up when I did, just because as a human being, as a man who respects all women, all colors, all everything. I was sitting right here, and I saw an adult male glaring towards this area. And he's saying 10 in that ass. And he's making faces that are very cruel and very mean. And we all know that it kind of got out in public and all this other stuff. I have not commented on anything public would not, but I was very disappointed in my community. There was people saying, well, is that what he meant? And I was thinking no, I took it personal, right? So I was like, I'm gonna come up here and say this. I just wanna thank God that y'all saw that. That's what I saw. But it was hidden, and then I'm just like, wow. And if one of my friends behaved like that in public, how could I support him? How could I stand with him? How do I say that that's okay? All the uncomfortable women in here, how did you feel when you saw that man stand and then yell and refuse to back down? He refused to back down. Then as I'm listening here with an ear of intelligence, there was a praise given for school being fully staffed, right? But it was given to subordinates other than the authority, right? So the good stuff, oh, that's somebody beneath you. But the bad stuff is all you, right? Brief history, we complain about Dean, right? The buses. 20 years ago, we sold the buses to them. We sold our buses. People on this board sold the buses, okay? And leadership was okay with it. Guess what? It was no uproar, everybody. There was none of this stuff that was going on right now. Somebody decided also to sell the most profitable property that GRPS owns, which was Iroquois, right? They turned into what? Grandma's Christian, right? It is worth quadruple whatever they paid for it at this point. See how power does? When you tell power no, look how it acts. Look how it's gonna make you do, and you're good if you do what I want you to do. You're a great part. Oh yeah, you're this, you're that. Soon as you don't do what they like, I'm gonna tan that ass. I'm gonna tan that ass. Yeah, they getting you. We gonna get you. We gonna see you. Those are threats. Who will let their mother be talked to like that? Who will let their aunt be talked to? What woman, what person deserves that? Nobody deserves that, no matter what your color. See, we introduced racism. I never said, I'm only telling you what I saw. We get distracted by this racial stuff. Some people are cruel and have bad intentions. Please quit falling for the banana in the tailpipe.
Selma Tucker.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Thank you for receiving my comment. I just want to start by affirming for the board a few observations that I've seen in this community. I am now, in 2025, I will have been a Grand Rapids resident for as long as my hometown. We're going on 20 years now. So I think Grand Rapids is home to me. And while I don't have children in GRPS, and much to the chagrin of my father, I probably won't have children, I consider myself a proud person, proud cheerleader in the village. And there's a few observations that I've made about our community and this district that I want to affirm and lift up for you. First is that our graduation rates are exceeding the state. I remember reading that press release and was really excited about it. Also really excited about the increase in enrollment that's happening at the district. Furthermore, I'm really excited to see that extracurriculars in the district are being prioritized. I can tell you that when I was in school, I probably wouldn't have graduated high school had it not been for band, and it hadn't been for theater, and it hadn't been for the arts. I was a bit of a strange kid, and those were places where I found refuge and comfort. And when we have children that are very dear to me that are enjoying those services, it means a lot. My dad takes some family, I call them my bonus nephews and bonus nieces. He takes them to practice every week because that helps that family out. That is really, really dear to us. So I want you to know that the direction that you're headed, that the work that you're doing is being seen, even by someone like me who does not have children in this district. I also want to affirm that changing a system, changing something as big and as tectonic as this district, as any institution, is not easy work. You only have to look at what the Pew Research Center has said about trust in institutions, and it is at a record low across the board. And so when you feel this acrimony, when you feel this anger, when you feel all of this tension, it's because there's a lack of trust in our institutions. And to rebuild that trust is going to take time. But I want you to know that I think that you're headed in the right direction. And another thing that I observe is you having very thoughtful conversations about methodology, around how we track our progress. And that is a really healthy conversation. And so the trust that you all exhibit with each other, the trust that you all demonstrate to us is a mark on your leadership and is affirming for us on how we should behave. So I want to just affirm the work that you've done, and I want you to know that it's not personal when you hear this stuff. As hard as that is, it is not personal, and your legacy will pass on to the next group of folks in the future, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
And we are to the superintendent's comments.
All right, so good evening, everyone. Just a couple of reminders for our community. Again, congratulations once again to our 2024 Jean Hamilton Cope Teachers of the Year Award. I think it's just phenomenal that that has taken place year over year. Congratulations to our Smart Art winner, as well as the phenomenal teacher who is also recognized, Mr. Stephen Smith. Very busy week that's taking place. Lots of positive things taking place in and across our district. Tuesday, which is tomorrow, the Ottawa Hills High School will be doing a grand reopening of its hospitality and tourism program. And again, this is an illustration of how do we make sure that we have multiple pathways for our young people. And we are super, super excited about what this may bring to not only the young people of Ottawa Hills, but then also across our city. And so there's lots of opportunities for this program, and we're just excited to relaunch it. There will be a community meeting at for Hausman and Briggs on Wednesday at GRPS University. And again, it's an illustration of how we are ultimately trying to continually engage our community as we are reimagining GRPS. And then the other thing I want to lift up is that Harrison Park is 100 years old, and we will be celebrating its century mark on Thursday from 4:30 to 6:30, and we invite our community to come out and make that a priority. And again, I just will say, as superintendent, I have loved the good, not necessarily always the bad, but it's been something of growth. And we are doing lots of positive things to tell our story in our district, and we do listen to the voices of the community. It is troubling when discourse becomes personal as well as attacks, and we can disagree about any number of things, but I hold to, as a professional, as a person, and as a professional, not to silence voices, but always to lead from a place of respect and not name call, because we can all, that is the lowest form of communication, when we have to devolve into name calling and attacks. And since many of the attacks have been directed towards me, I can speak on it, how it has left me. I have shared with this board. This is a problem, because if we talk about culture and community, it starts with us. And so we can't talk about culture and community of how we're interacting at our buildings and how our staff is treated if we allow this environment to be less than anything but professional.
Alrighty, next we have our board comments, and definitely applaud that. We'll start with Ms. Melton.
Yeah, I was real excited this week. I saw my son's high school newsletter, and right in there, just like the jacket that D. Jones wore today, was an announcement for esports. So I was really excited just to see that, brought a smile to my face. I also just appreciate hearing Mr. Atkins speak about kind of reflecting on what was working and shifting things up so that kids can be more involved in the process. And as I think about Grand Rapids, there's so many places where it's working. There's so many things that are just, great exemplars for the rest of us. So I look forward to this, kind of this coming year as we reflect a little bit on what we want to do more of, and I just see a lot of it. So.
Ms. Wade?
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. And all the many celebrations. I do want to uplift the fact that we have two students that sit up here with us on this board, and they are watching, they are learning, and they're receiving all the words that are coming to this group of people. And I just want us to remember that the people that we are all doing this for, they represent them, and be mindful about how we are addressing each other and interacting with each other. And I want to uplift part of what Seth said when he was saying, our students are watching and are learning. And I don't want my child to sit in this seat when some of these comments are being said. And I don't want nobody else's child to be sitting in this seat. And so we do have to be the change.
Shaki?
Yeah, I agree. I think Ms. Melton said to our student rep on this end of the table, how's it going? How was your first meeting? And she said, well, it's interesting. I said, yes, it is interesting. You're right. I think so much about these meetings, and I read all of the emails, and I'm just a person that so badly wants to know and say the right thing that will solve the incredibly complicated issues in front of us. I'm not capable of that. I know that. But not saying anything is also not the right thing to do. So I just feel as though I need to say how much I stand in support of our superintendent. And anyone in this room that ever says that they are made to feel unsafe or threatened. Truly, anyone in this room who has felt that way. And just like my colleagues have said already, we have a responsibility to be better than that and to demonstrate to our children what professionalism looks like. And when our comments come across in a way that we don't intend, I also believe it's our responsibility to reflect deeply on our impact and to be willing, through that reflection, to seek to repair our relationships with one another and then be in recovery together. This will take time. But imagine what this body could be if we spent time doing that together. What I appreciated so much listening to, I think it was the comments on Ms. Morse, is she boldly speaks up with a heart to solve problems for all scholars. Boldly speak up to solve problems in this district. Please do not stop that. But I do think it's time that we do it in a new and better way for our scholars. All right, switching gears. I'm grieving the loss of being on this board, and believe it or not, it's because of all the work you get to do with data, which is really interesting and exciting to me. And I'm wishing that I could stay and be in what I know is going to start moving this district. What gets measured gets done, and we're about to start that. I am so excited for the new board coming in. I hope you like data. You're going to be immersed in it. Yes, great. I'm seeing nodding heads. It's awesome. Let me share some with you that I learned today. I'm on the West Michigan Works Workforce Board. I just thought those interesting population projections, and it matters for us. So 10-year projections, Michigan's population is projected to increase by 231,000 people, 2.3% by 2032. However, by 2050, our state's population is expected to measure just under 10 million, a decrease of 1.3% from today. So we're going to peak up around 2032 and start to decline again. It's really interesting. We talked about the graduation cliff at this board meeting today. So 2028 is when the number of our high school graduates begins to decline. So colleges and universities in this particular meeting are talking about what are we going to do about that? And indeed, we'll see some probably close. So major shifts are upon us as those who live in this education space. Thank you.
Mr. Ross.
No comment.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Man, it's heavy in this room, and I don't know how to feel about it. I don't like it. But all I can do is speak my truth. So I just wrote down a few things because I'm also not good at just kind of speaking off the cuff. But so I do want to take a moment to apologize to two people. One, first of all, is Lucas. I apologize to you as folks have tried to miscategorize your frustration of your card not being called for public comment. I'm not sure what happened to the card, but I did see one written before the start of the meeting, so I understand why you would be upset that you're not giving your time to address the board, and I always want to ensure that folks are given their time to address us. Secondly, I want to apologize to Dr. Roby. I stand in firm commitment on racial justice and racial equity, and I have not done my duty on speaking out against harmful, racially insensitive rhetoric. Regardless of our differences in opinion on this work, I will always stand in support of our Black community and other marginalized groups. I think that problems have found themselves on social media, and the harmful rhetoric that has been spread must come to an end related to this board, to some of our amazing leaders in the community, and also just to folks trying to make a difference in their everyday lives. We all need to do better. Also, I want to end on a good note. So happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Congratulations to our Jean Hamilton Cope Teachers of the Year. I got a chance to work with Jen Hall years ago at North Park Montessori, and I cannot think of anyone more deserving than her, and that's all I've got. Thank you.
Mr. Eatman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is how we grow and learn, right? Everything is not always going to be easy, but I'm going to start off and saying Happy Indigenous Day. We are being very intentional as a district to make sure that we can avoid much important holidays and or recognitions, and so that is something that we are constantly updating and making sure that that happens, and so Dr. Roby has been on top of that as well. So I'm happy that we were able to open up with acknowledging that with our President Williams. I want to congratulate the our art program. Clearly we have an outstanding art program, even with that scholar that had won the McDonald's thing last year. I just think about the aspects that it continues to be at the forefront.
It was Ottawa Hills too.
Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna get to them in a second. And it's a continuation to show that talent lives here. We have talent in our district. This district and all educators, they produce every job that we see in America comes out of the K through 12 system, from however they're inspired, it comes out of that. So I just want to thank and give congratulations to Steve again and that wonderful student, but also the rest of our teachers, those who are not just recognized, that were highlighted, but we know the work that you all do and appreciate what you do daily and actively working on your behalf. With that being said, I do want to say that we've talked about this multiple times. If you heard me say about the aspect that people are watching, and it is our responsibility of how we choose to engage and disengage with civil disagreements. We have to model the behavior for our scholars across the board. They're learning behaviors based on how they see adults interact. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, and I think there's also a model of that to be able to say, to recognize self and what we do in those moments, and how do we shift that narrative to even come up. And so I want to even acknowledge your posture to even publicly apologize from this aspect of that is commendable, actually, and is also a model that the rest of us could be doing. We're human, we're getting some things, but we also know that things are politically charged right now, our nation, and this is bleeding down into multiple different aspects. And this is about the kids at the end of the day. You're advocating for the kids, we're advocating for the kids. You voted us in to be able to, or me appointed, soon to be voted, into those aspects of it, but it matters. It matters in the aspect of how we show up. It matters in the aspect of what we're doing. This is for the children at the end of the day. And so how we come together matters, in my personal opinion, around that. And then I'll always carry this true for me, which is the aspect of, regardless of your intent, you are responsible for your impact. Regardless of your intent, you are responsible for your impact. I didn't mean to run over your foot. It doesn't make the pain go away that your foot got ran over. I'm still responsible for that pain. And so I just want to be, as we continue to move forward definitely as a district as a whole, how do we walk alongside each other in civil disagreement? How do we agree to disagree and still not make it a situation where it's personally attacked? We have to really kind of do some self-checking as adults. It's time for that. And again, this is about the kids. And so I'm super excited about the work that we're doing. We are listening, we are posturing differently, we're making sure we have things to measure. That takes time, that takes also intentionality and strategy. And so the work on behalf of the district and the staff that is putting together presentations for us to be able to dissect and or provide feedback on, just thank you for your continuous work. It's not easy thinking that you're gonna get up here and hear from our side and then hear from the audience as well. That's a lot. We're carrying a lot. Everyone's carrying a lot. And so it's just, let's really refocus to make sure that this is about the kids at heart and how we want to make this a better place for them. We lived our pieces to do what we need to do. This is really about them. That's all I'm gonna say.
Ms. Downs-Lewis.
Yes, I just want to correct, somebody in the audience said that ours was a failing school district. And I want to make it clear that as a woman who spent 35 years plus in the classroom and raised a couple of kids and now have grandchildren, my grandchildren would not be in a failing school district. They, one of them is at community college, one of them is at museum school. They, as far as I'm concerned, they've been successful, they've had good teachers. I just refuse to let anyone say that we're failing. We are not failing. We have wonderful teachers. We have wonderful people who work for us on the executive board. We have Dr. Roby, and we are not failing. We are working hard. You don't flunk a kid in a class because they're working too hard, and I feel that we are working very hard to make sure things are right for our kids because they are our #1 priority.
Thank you. Thanking everyone for coming out. We appreciate you taking out your time to be with us. I will say that the often personal attacks and the stone throwing that gets done and then the hiding of the hands is extremely frustrating. The often lies that are said and I don't know if it's intentional miscommunication or sharing of messages, but it is hurtful, it is unfair, and it is not helping move the work forward for our children. And so I am going to encourage, as the advocacy takes place, that we keep our children at the forefront of that advocacy. And I don't have to be called a name to do that. Calling our staff names, you shouldn't have to do that. We should not have to be subjected to abuse to come, not just us as board members, but the staff as well. We have to be able to, again, show ourselves in a fashion that we are trying to move things forward in a mature way and in a way that is helpful. And so I would encourage everyone, as you continue your advocacy, that again, you do that in truth, not this partial half stuff that we get half the time. That's not fair. And so I am saying that it is important, as we're doing that we're honest about that work. And I think we are trying our best to give you our best work, and we're asking that in return, as we're trying to listen and hear and absorb what the community is sharing, that you also give it to us from a place of truth and honesty, and then also be patient with us. Again, this is not, we didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to change the trajectory overnight as well for all students, but we are working diligently to do that. Each and every person up here is giving of their time, more time than you can even begin to imagine. And it is, he said repeat, more time than you can imagine. This is a hard work, but it is a hard work that we are committed to doing. So I ask that you, again, come alongside us in a way that is helpful and that is, again, advocates for your family, your community, but again, in a place of respect as well. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting.